Pirate's Most Powerful Villain, Chapter 821-840. Chapter 0821 _ The Ancestor of the Uchiha Clan. V of the Uchiha Clan. Impossible, when Uchiha Itachi slaughtered all the clan, apart from him, no other Uchiha clan members survived. Wait, I remember the first time we met, you said, you were related to the Uchiha clan. As if remembering something, Sasuke Uchiha's eyes flashed and he said, the ancestor you said, who are you? Do you know, Uchiha Madara? I heard of it. Sasuke nodded. Madara Uchiha, of course he knows the name. After all, it was 60 years ago that on behalf of the Uchiha clan, he joined forces with the Chinsho clan to jointly establish the legendary character of Konoha. I am older than Madara Uchiha, in terms of identity, Madara should call me, sir, when he sees me. Chinyang grinned, but it wasn't a lie. How is this possible? How many years ago is that person? How can you still maintain this appearance? Looking at your appearance, at most 24 or 5 years old. You're still too young, the ninjutsu that keeps you young still exists. Chinyang shook his head and said, it doesn't make any sense to ask me about my identity. The Uchiha clan has become history for 390 years. Quote. Sasuke Uchiha recalled the night of the genocide and finally drove it out of his mind. However, knowing that Chinyang, who has always been mysterious, is a member of the Uchiha family, he is somewhat more cordial. Then what did you want to do when you found me? Of course it is the glory of the Guangfu family. Chinyang snorted coldly. Of course, I can't do it myself. I will teach you ninjutsu to make you stronger, and then kill that traitor. Quote. Itachi. Sasuke Uchiha gritted his teeth, and then said, by the way, I have something to do with you. You, shouting like this it's rude, Sasuke, since you know my identity, you have to call me, old ancestor. The old god Chinyang is here. Hearing this, Sasuke Uchiha's face was tangled, and it was really awkward to call a man in his 20s called old ancestor. However, he had something to ask for, and said bravely, ancestor, I went out with Kakashi on a mission this time, and I met Itachi Uchiha. Really? As expected, Chinyang was not surprised and said, so you fought against him, and after your defeat, you turned on the one-eyed three-go jade, right? Yes, Sasuke said, I want to know how to turn on the kaleidoscope. About this, I will naturally tell you when you reach the eyes of the three-go jade. Chinyang waved his hand and said, cultivation well, don't waste it. Square root. Ancestor, there is one more thing. Sasuke Uchiha hesitated for a while before saying, the village seems to be holding a Chunin exam, I want to take it, please teach me a more powerful ninjutsu. After shouting a few times, he was used to it. Your Thunder Sword is only about mastering an S-rank ninjutsu that is a higher level. It's still too early for you now. Chinyang thought about it for a while, then suddenly stretched out his hand and shouted, the Gun of Thunder. See. Lightning flashed, and in an instant, a long spear of thunder was held in the palm of his hand. Just looking at it, Sasuke Uchiha has a feeling of heart palpitations. In this blow, there seems to be a terrifyingly huge power cue. This is the advanced ninjutsu of Thunder Sword, or rather, Thunder Sword, it's just a weakened version of Thunder Spear. Bing! Chinyang said, this is S-rank Muji ninjutsu, one blow is enough to raise the entire Konoha village to the ground. Hiss! Sasuke Uchiha took a deep breath, but he did not doubt Chinyang's words, but was frightened by the power contained in the Thunder Spear. I saw a flash of thunder and the spear dissipated. Chinyang waved his hand and said, you can't learn yet. Of course, if you can get the first place in the Chunin exam, I can consider teaching you. Go and practice, don't disturb me if you have nothing to do. Yes, old ancestor, I will definitely get the first place. Sasuke Uchiha's eyes were fiery with boundless enthusiasm, and he immediately plunged into the great cause of cultivation. Hokage Building, an assembly hall. Now, Those who are in charge of guiding the new genin, please start recommending candidates for the Chunin exam. Hokage Sarutobi Hizen smoked a cigarette and said solemnly, "You know the rules. The basic requirement is to complete 8 tasks, and the rest depends on your usual review." "If that's the case, then I'll come first." Kakashi scratched his head, thought for a moment, and finally said, "I, Kakashi's 7th class, recommend Sasuke Uchiha, Naruto Uzumaki, and Sakura Haruno to take the Chunin exam in the name of Kakashi." He had just finished speaking, and then someone spoke again. "My red class 8, I recommend Hinata, Inazuka Ya, and Shino Oil Girl under the name of my red paper, take the Chunin exam. My Asma's 10th class, I recommend Yamanaka Ino, Nara Shikamaru, and Akamichi Choji to take the Chunin exam in the name of my Sarutobi Asma." The 3 classes in a row were all rookie genin who just graduated from the ninja school this year. Sarutobi Hizen nodded, and after a while, he said, "Very well, the exam time is scheduled for July 1st. Before that, please prepare in advance and disband. Kakashi, come with me." "Yes, Hokage-sama." Time flew by, and 2 days later, the Chunin exam was held as scheduled. In the past 2 days, genin from all over the world have come one after another, and there are also some new faces on the street. There are hundreds of participants this time, according to Konoha statistics. 30 people in Sand Ninja Village, 21 people in Yunin Village, 6 people in Grass Ninja Village, 6 people in Taki Ninja Village, 3 people in Yunin Village, 87 people in Konoha Village, a total of 143 people. The exam is divided into 4 stages. First of all, the first stage is the written test. 301 of Ninja School. Early in the morning, after Uchiha Sasuke greeted Chinyang, the ancestor, he set off for the gathering. "Old ancestor, I'm going to take the Chunin exam, please rest assured, I will definitely win the first place." Uchiha Sasuke is determined to win. Watching the other party leave, Chinyang frowned but Vivi. Strange, I felt a kaleidoscope of pupil power in his eyes. What did Uchiha Itachi do to him? Forget it, I'll do the math. Chinyang's eyes flashed, and Vivi flashed white light. In an instant, he seemed to see through the past and the future, and insight into the future. Sure enough, in the country of waves before, Uchiha Itachi sealed Amaterasu into Sasuke Uchiha's writing wheel. It should be to prevent people with bad intentions from approaching him. Is it to guard against me, or Orochimaru? Quote. Chinyang chuckled softly and said, "Amaterasu is useless to me if it is Orochi pill, he. Chinyang thought about it and got up immediately. It seems to be very lively, Orochimaru, don't let me down. Chapter 0822-Patriarch Chin. Therefore, the first Chunin exam and GT school was held. When Sasuke came to the school, he heard greetings from a distance. "Morning, Sasuke." Haruno Sakura waved at him. Sasuke Uchiha nodded silently and glanced around. There are a lot of people gathered, there are hundreds of people at least. Naruto Uzumaki is beside Haruno Sakura, but there is also a ninja who has never seen before. Dressed in a green ninja suit, no forehead guard, round eyes, thick eyebrows, hair. At this moment, seeing Sasuke coming, he suddenly walked up to Haruno Sakura, a little shy, and grinned. "My name is Lee Kuro, are you Sakura? Please get in touch with me, I will swear to protect you." "I refuse." Sakura was startled, and then refused without thinking. "Your eyebrows are too thick." Ha ha ha. Uzumaki Naruto hugged the back of his head and couldn't help laughing. At this time, behind Lee Kuro, a white-eyed man shook his head and said, "Hey, what are you doing? Didn't you say keep a low profile?" "That I couldn't help it for a while." Kuro Lee was quite embarrassed, then suddenly turned to look at Sasuke Uchiha, and said, "You and Sakura are in a group, I know you, the Uchiha family." Huh. Sasuke Uchiha raised his eyebrows. "Let's go, Xiao Li, the exam is about to start." A girl said helplessly beside the white-eyed man. I see, Tiantian, but you guys go first, I have something to confirm. Lee Kuro put on a serious expression and turned to face Sasuke Uchiha. I've heard your story, the genius Uchiha clan. Contrary to you, I've never been a genius. Let's have a fight here now. How? HMPH, boring. Phew. Sasuke Uchiha snorted coldly, but he didn't even bother to answer. Let's go X Naruto, Sakura. Yes, Sasuke-kun. Haruno Sakura's heart was rippling, and she happily followed. Uzumaki Naruto pouted, and when Sasuke and Lee Kuro were compared, he was more hostile to Lee Kuro, who told others to confess his favorite girl. Wait. Lee Kuro dodged and moved extremely fast. The moment was intercepted in front of Sasuke, and he took a fighting stance. I want to see if my move is effective against the genius Uchiha clan. Everyone needs it. Take the Chunin exam, and sooner or later you will meet, so try it now. Is there anything you can't do? Or, in the face of challenges, the people of the Uchiha clan will only think about running away. Hearing this, many onlookers around Shamanen whispered, and the name of the Uchiha clan is known as QBU in the entire ninja world. Escape. Sasuke Uchiha's face was grim. I have no problem with expressing myself in front of the girl I like, but since you insulted the name of the Uchiha clan, I can't forgive you. You two step back, I will deal with him first. It won't be too long, 5 minutes is enough. Between Yan's words, he also put on a fighting stance. Not only that, his eyes were condensed, and the eyes of a 3-go jade and a 2-go jade suddenly appeared. Lee Kuro's mind was broken, and he couldn't help blushing. I'm not doing this for this, I just want to see how talented the genius is. As soon as the voice fell, he had launched an attack. As soon as his footsteps moved, Lee Kuro burst out with a speed that far surpassed that of Jinan, which surprised everyone present. So fast. Sasuke Uchiha's face was startled, and he could barely see each other's movements even when he was riding the wheel. When he realized that he was being attacked, his body was too late to react. Boom! You! With a kick in the chin, Sasuke Uchiha flew upside down. So strong, the onlookers whispered in amazement. Damn, careless. Sasuke Uchiha was annoyed. Only in terms of speed, he and Kakashi have a fight. You seem to be underestimating me, and I declare in advance that among all Konoha's ninjas, I am the strongest. Lee Kuro did not pursue the victory. Hearing this, Sasuke Uchiha regained his composure. It's interesting, I didn't expect this kind of shinobi to exist. Number 1. This title will belong to me from today on. At the same time, on the 3rd floor of the school, in a certain teacher's office, a group of Junin gathered. One of them was wearing a green ninja suit and also had thick eyebrows. Kai, aren't you going to stop your subordinates? The female named Han couldn't help shaking her head and said, the fight started before the exam, that Uchiha kid will suffer. Kakashi didn't stop it, and I have no reason to stop it. 9 flowers. Kai grinned, my rival, it looks like you're going to lose to me. It's hard to say, Sasuke is still very strong, especially after returning from the country of waves. Kakashi calmly looked at his intimacy paradise. Although I don't know who it is, someone did teach him ninjutsu behind his back. My 7th class instructor didn't actually teach him anything. Treading water, climbing trees, that is, controlling chakra, Sasuke Uchiha had learned before he taught it. The properties of thunder and fire chakra changed, and on the day of the placement test, Sasuke Uchiha also mastered it. Is greater than or equal to. Even the A-level Muji ninjutsu like Thunder Sword suddenly came out. Kakashi can't teach Sasuke at all, there is a more powerful person who is teaching him. What does this mean? Kai asked curiously, isn't he the only one left in the Uchiha clan? Why would anyone teach him? I don't know, I have reported this matter to Hokage-sama, and the Anbu investigation has no clue. Kakashi shook his head. But there is no doubt that someone in the background is teaching him. As for who? It's me. Suddenly, a light laughter sounded. Numerous Junin present were all startled, and suddenly raised their heads. I saw a person sitting on a table in front of me. The man was wearing a long white coat and had an ethereal temperament. If it wasn't for his eyes to see clearly, no one would have noticed that there was a person here. Who are you? More than a dozen Shangnan were on guard, and one by one assumed a fighting stance. Don't be so nervous, I'm the one you said. Qinyang chuckled softly. I'm just a travel writer, not a suspicious person. You said you're not a suspicious person, but no matter how I look at it, you're too suspicious. Kai looked solemn. Anyway, go and explain it to Anbu. Saying that, he dodged and appeared behind Qinyang in the blink of an eye. As expected of a fighting technique ninja, it is rare to see such a fast burst. Qinyang's Isho, his eyes condensed, the three-hook jade writing wheel eyes suddenly manifested. Inside the bewitching red eyes, three Guyus slowly turned. Kai was shocked to find that he had lost the ability to move, and was bound by a strange chakra all over his body. Introduce myself, I am the ancestor of the Uchiha clan, you can call me Chin. Chapter 0823-Kakashi. And hearing these words, Ren Chichi fell into a sluggish name. The ancestor of the Uchiha clan. What a joke. However, that is indeed a writing wheel eye. Kai's face was solemn, a great illusion, it restrained my actions in an instant. Everyone be careful, don't look at him. This guy has 3 eyes, and the illusion is very good. Between the words, he made a seal with one hand and snorted, solution, in a low voice. Puff. The bizarre chakra that bound him disappeared immediately, and Kai quickly retreated to a certain safety distance. Don't look at each other. Naive thought. Qinyang let out a low laugh, and pretended to make a seal, illusion, darkness. Whoosh. A black light flashed, and the next moment, the entire classroom turned into darkness. Everyone's vision disappeared, as if they were in the dark silk. No, it's impossible. The art of darkness. A Joinin exclaimed in disbelief. This is the ninjutsu of the first Hokage-sama. The dark line of art, the practice difficulty is A, is a forbidden art, super high level of ninjutsu, the entire Naruto world, it seems that only the first generation of Naruto Senju can use it. This illusion was recorded in the Book of Seals. No one expected that a person would suddenly appear and use this kind of ninjutsu in front of them. Qinyang didn't know it originally, but it's not a waste of time to study the Book of Seals for so many days. Most of the above ninjutsu has been mastered. Except for a small part, which is a little bit troublesome, illusions like the dark line art are not difficult for him. You who are you? Sarutobi Asma shouted. Is it the enemy? Are you worthy of being my enemies too? Don't be too arrogant, lads. The darkness, Qinyang's figure emerged, he still sat on the table, and said with a relaxed attitude, I am the ancestor of the Uchiha family. According to the seniority, I am your grandfather's grandfather. What are you kidding me, Uchiha Chin? Never heard of such a name. Moreover, with such a high seniority, he must be over 100 years old. How is it possible that this young man who looks in his 20s is 100 years old? Many Shangren were stunned. Kakashi is still calm, his shackles allow him to see Qinyang through the darkness. You said just now that you taught Sasuke. Yes, Uchiha is the only one left, how can I not teach it? Qinyang said playfully, don't think that I don't know the good things you guys have done. But what say, they are a bunch of incompetents anyway. The younger generation does not even have a kaleidoscope to open, and if he dies, he will die. It's you, Kakashi, who, as a foreigner, can actually develop a writing wheel to the level of a kaleidoscope, which makes me impressed. There is a certain hostility to Konoha. A few Junin secretly said, what are you doing here? It's nothing. Recently, several waves of Anbu ninjas have been buzzing around me. It's annoying. I want to kill it directly several times. The old god Qinyang is here, but don't worry, I am still a reasonable person, I will not kill people casually. This is not like, now exudes a strong murderous aura, making all the Shengrin feel cold all over. Just his aura is so terrifying, and he can use the dark skills of the first Hokage at any time. This person is too scary. Just pretend you are the old ancestor of the Uchiha clan. What do you want to do now that you are here? He, Chin-young grinned Isho. My ancestor, I just came over to take a look at leisure. I remembered to tell Sarutobi Hizen later that I would send someone from Anbu to come here. When I get angry, Konoha may be gone. The crowd was speechless. Suddenly, the darkness disappeared, along with Chin-young. The crowd looked at each other. What now? A character of unknown origin. Is the Chunin exam going to continue? Continue. I'm going to report to Hokage-sama. Ibiki Mori, the inspector of the first exam. It's you, it's almost time, you go. The crowd split up. Ha Uchiha Chin. Those eyes are definitely not the level of Sengo Jade, Kaleidoscope. Kakashi closed the book and turned to leave. At the same time, Chin-young appeared on the roof of the ninja school, sitting calmly on the water tower, admiring the scenery of the entire Konoha. Before long, this place will probably be in ruins due to Orochimaru's actions. Suddenly, a figure appeared. Kakashi. Uchiha Chin, the modern Uchiha family, there is no such person. Oh, what are you trying to say? Chin-young chuckled softly. Kakashi pushed his forehead up, revealing his own writing wheel eyes. I don't believe what ancestors say you are. Even if you appear at this time, it makes people think you have bad intentions. If I had bad intentions, Konoha would have disappeared long ago. Chin-young looked down at the other party and said, why, you don't accept it? It's meaningless whether you doubt my identity as an ancestor or not. Really? Kakashi's gaze froze, and his left eye suddenly turned from a three-hooked jade into a kaleidoscope, a pattern like a sickle, exuding a strange aura. The next moment, where his eyes converged, the space where Chin-yang's right arm was, began to distort. Like a vortex in the water, with a black spot as the center, the space circles and twists, as if to tear everything apart. Divine might. Space ninjutsu, not bad. Chin-yang chuckled lightly, stretched out his hand and grabbed it. Once he grabbed it, the space suddenly shattered, and all the distortions were instantly shattered. It was like a piece of cloth. Kakashi twisted the cloth, and Chin-young, more simply, grabbed the cloth directly. Boom. Divine power disappeared. What? Kakashi's eyes widened, his expression shocked. When my ancestor was playing with space, you were still a fertilized egg. Chin-young pouted. He has transcended the long river of time, and the mere space ninjutsu can be broken easily. Stupidly using a kaleidoscope, with the body of a foreigner, you will be blind in no time. Chin-yang's eyes narrowed, and Sengoku immediately turned into Rinnegan, universal pull. Boom. Kakashi only felt a force of 4.5 pulls coming, and the next moment, the whole person was directly sucked away. Chin-young grabbed his neck, and lifted it up in the air. Your eyes. L. This is the eye of the gods, Rinnegan, the eye of the six sages. P. Chin-young said indifferently, the final form of Sharingan, these eyes even hold the power to resuscitate the dead. In front of it, your kaleidoscope is a baby. As if to strangle Kakashi to death, Chin-young Vivi exerted force. Suddenly, a figure descended from the sky. Wait, Sarutobi Hizen appeared wearing a group of Anbu ninjas. This ancestor, please let Kakashi go. 3 generations. Chin-young casually threw Kakashi aside, and then said playfully, 7 old and 80, still relying on Hokage's position, why don't you let me take a seat? Hearing this, everyone froze in unison. Chapter 0824-Unarmed Hard Pick S Rank Ninjutsu. The seat of Hokage, why not sit down? Chin-young opened his mouth playfully. Many ninjas breathed for a while, and then they all showed an angry look. The 3 generations of Hokage Sarutobi were still calm, waved his hand, and said, I am indeed old, and I want to pass the position of Hokage to capable people, This ancestor, although you say so, but Hokage, the position is not handed down to others casually, it needs the approval of everyone in the village, making outstanding contributions to the village, and being respected by everyone, in order to be competent. The first, second, and fourth generations are all like this. Quote. The implication is that you are a stranger, and coming here is like sitting in the position of Naruto, a fantasy. He. Hokage, and Hokage would be his younger brother. He had to consider whether the other party had this qualification. People are old and mature, and they can speak well. Chinyang jumped lightly, jumped off the water tower, and fell directly in front of everyone. Sarutobi Hizen, when the Uchiha clan wiped out the clan overnight, I don't care about this matter. You don't have to worry. I'm coming back this time, just to teach Uchiha's last single seedling. Of course, before that, I want to see how much strength you have. Hokage, let's take it, don't say I didn't give it your chance. Hearing this, an Anbu team leader behind him suddenly said angrily, presumptuous. However, as soon as his voice fell, Chinyang glanced at it. In an instant, an incomparably heavy pressure shrouded behind this person. PFF'd. The name Jonan didn't hold on for a second, he knelt down directly, his eyes widened, and he looked lost. Sarutobi Hiruzen stepped forward and blocked all the momentum in front of this person. Don't be angry, since you are the ancestor, why bother with the younger generation? He, although I am reasonable in my ancestors, you have to respect my ancestors a little bit, otherwise I don't mind teaching you little babies a lesson. Huh. Sarutobi Hizen took a deep breath, facing Chinyang's aura, he felt that he was a straw. In the midst of the storm, if there was any change, he would suffer a terrifying blow. Since the ancestor wants to teach me, I will be offended. Hiruzen Sarutobi nodded solemnly. Lord Hokage. All the Anbu ninjas were shocked. Even Kakashi couldn't help shouting. Lord Naruto, those eyes are Rinnegan, according to legend, the eyes of the six-path immortals. I know no need to say more. Cues. Sarutobi Hizen raised his hand, stopped everyone from talking too much, looked directly at Chinyang and said, then, old ancestor, let's change place. The next is the Chunin exam, I don't want to be because of our fight. Destroy the school. V. Rao is very determined, calling a man in his early 20s called Laozu, which also made him quite unaccustomed. However, the opponent's strength is incredible, and as Hokage, he has to bow his head. In short, let's try it out first. If it is really unmatched, then the ancestor is the ancestor. As long as the other party does not come to Konoha to destroy it, it is no big deal. On the contrary, if such an ancestor exists, it may be able to strengthen Konoha. Strength. But after hearing his words, Chinyang chuckled lightly, change places. No need. 4 enchantments. He spread out his right palm, and a transparent square appeared in the palm. Then, the square expanded rapidly, forming an independent space in a blink of an eye, wrapping him and Sarutobi Hizen. As for the rest, they were all expelled by the enchantment. Come on, this enchantment can withstand the blow of a mountain. Chinyang put his hands on his back and acted like his ancestors, let you do 3 moves. If you can make me take a step back, I will restore your youth to the peak of your life. Don't doubt the strength of my ancestors, I said. It can be done, naturally it can be done. Rejuvenate. Everyone was surprised and felt incredible. Sarutobi Hizen was even more shocked. In recent years, he has clearly felt that his strength has been rapidly declining. This is force majeure, and it is the consequence of aging biological functions. Offended. Thinking of this, Hiruzen Sarutobi, no matter how big he was, he immediately formed a seal, the art of fire escape high flame. Boom. With the seal of Sarutobi hidden, the huge chakra in his body quickly transformed into flames, gathered in his mouth, and then suddenly sprayed out. The blazing flames filled the entire 4 enchantments in an instant, and the temperature inside the enchantment climbed to hundreds of degrees because of this. and all the flames attacked Qin Yang from all directions. Facing this blow, Qin Yang didn't move at all, letting the flames engulf him. Boom! In the loud noise, the enchantment stopped shaking. This is the ninjutsu of the Sarutobi clan. It's a terrible temperature. Even outside the barrier, you can feel the terrifying high temperature. As expected of Hokage-sama, even if that guy is strong, if he takes a move in the front, he will be injured. No one expects to solve Qin Yang, but expects Qin Yang to be injured and show a distressed attitude. However, Sarutobi Hizen's expression became more solemn, and even felt incredible. I saw the flames gradually dissipated, and after a minute, it completely dissipated, and only sporadic flames were flowing. In front of his field of vision, Qin Yang was still standing there, not even moving. Is greater than or equal to. The flame is indeed burning the opponent, but the existence of the opponent seems to be at a higher level, and it is difficult for ordinary flames to reach the root. What's going on? Sarutobi Hizen murmured in a low voice. One move. Qin Yang raised his chin. There are 2 more moves. If it's just this small flame, forget it. It's okay to light 903 candles. Light candles. Sarutobi Hizen deeply felt the strength of the other party, and immediately formed another seal, water escape hard vortex water blade. The bursting water suddenly poured out, and Sarutobi Hiru took a step forward, wrapping the water vortex on his right hand. This huge amount of water was compressed into a water spear, and the speed of rotation was extremely terrifying. The next moment, the water spear suddenly shot out. This is the second generation Hokage-sama's best S-rank ninjutsu. Someone exclaimed outside the barrier. The hard vortex water blade, S-level acquisition difficulty, the ultimate water escape ninjutsu, is the profound meaning level in the water escape technique, and the power of a single blow is enough to pierce through meteorite iron. It's still a little bit like. Seeing the high-speed rotating water gun projecting, Qin Yang grinned Isho, and immediately reached out and grabbed it. Boom! The terrifying water gun hit the fleshy palm. However, the picture that everyone expected did not come. This was enough to pierce the iron, and under Qin Yang's palm, it was difficult to get close. Impossible. Anbu squad leader lost his voice. This is S-rank ninjutsu. This guy just rely on one body. Boom. Suddenly, Qin Yang grabbed with all his might, and with a puff, the powerful and gorgeous hard vortex water blade shattered instantly under this grab. It turned into rainwater and swayed in the enchantment. Monster! Monster! L. The third Hokage fell into a sluggishness. Chapter 0825_absolutely not to provoke. Sarutobi Hizen was in a daze and GT. This is S-rank ninjutsu, one of the ultimate ninjutsu at the peak of endless ninjutsu. Not even a tailed beast can do such a thing. One more trick. Qin Yang shook off the water stains on his right hand and said with a relaxed attitude, "It's okay to take a cold shower, it's 100 years short of using it to deal with me. The greatest power of this ninjutsu lies in piercing, but unfortunately, it can't hurt me." Hearing this, Hiruzen Sarutobi smiled wryly, stunned. If it was still at its peak, he might still be able to fight, or at least use stronger moves, but now that he is old, facing this kind of monster, he is not an opponent at all. Thinking of this, he shook his head and said, "Old ancestor, you won." "Oh, it's easy to understand." Qin Yang raised his eyebrows and said jokingly, "With your old, weak, sick and disabled body, I just stand still and let you fight. After a few hours, it's you who will be exhausted. The people who can hurt him in this world don't exist yet, at least Kagayaji is barely worth seeing." In his eyes, the so-called shadow-level ninjas are no different from children. As the 3 generations of Hokage of Konoha village, I admit that you are the ancestor of the Uchiha clan. Sarutobi Hizen said solemnly. I wonder if the ancestor was satisfied. "No, did you misunderstand something? When did I need you to admit it, patriarch?" Qin Yang pouted. "Then what did the ancestor say? Appearing at such a time, if it's true, you were already in the village a month ago." You didn't show up before, but instead chose the timing of the Chunin exam. There is always a purpose. Q. As expected of the third generation, those who can be Hokage are definitely not fools. X. Chinyang grinned. Since everyone agrees that I am the ancestor, then, I will preside over the third session of the Chunin exam, no problem. Is this the purpose? The three generations of Hokage were a little confused for a while. Could it be that this old monster was so bored that he rarely encountered an interesting Chunin exam, so he also wanted to come out and do some activities? He even wondered if this guy was trying to open the back door for Sasuke Uchiha. Thinking of this, Hiruzen Sarutobi took a few puffs of cigarettes, and finally nodded, saying, as long as the ancestor doesn't do anything that harms Konoha, it's fine. With such an old monster in existence, he also had a great headache. Tough methods are definitely not acceptable. The other party is of high seniority, at least the seniority is boundless on the surface. In the case that the absolute combat strength is not as good as the opponent's, Sarutobi Hyjin can only try his best to meet the requirements of the opponent, and then go back to check the information and investigate carefully to see if there is a person named Uchiha Chin. If there is, it would be even more troublesome. That is the true ancestor, and he is still ashamed of the Uchiha family, and even more guilty of facing the seniors of the family. As for not, that is also very troublesome. If such a terrible person stays in Konoha, if he just wants to teach Sasuke, he always feels that there is a problem. After thinking about it, it was only the third session of the Chunin exam, so as long as everyone was not eliminated, it would be fine, so he agreed. Chinyang was too lazy to pay attention to the other party's thoughts, and immediately said, if that's the case, so be it. I will appear in the third exam. Also, don't come to me if you have nothing to do. As he spoke, his body faded, and with a wave of his hand, the four enchantments were also withdrawn. Disappeared. Sarutobi Rijin's heart lingered. Chinyang seemed to melt into the space and disappeared in an instant. Space ninjutsu. Kakashi's mind was shaking. Lord Naruto. It doesn't matter. This person's strength is extremely terrifying, far from the level of ordinary shadows, and he has even matched the 6-path immortals of the year. Only the body of an immortal can have that kind of terrifying defensive power. Sarutobi Hyjin shook his head and said, it's business as usual. The Anbu ninjas lurking near the Uchiha clan have all withdrawn. Don't offend him for the time being. Also, prepare the Uchiha clan's genealogy, I'll take a look. Not to mention the plans of the 3 generations of Hokage, the 3rd floor of the ninja school, room 301. The first session of the Chunin exam has already begun. The specific test content is the written test, and all the people who participated in the test felt difficult to face such complex questions. Therefore, these people use some ninja methods to cheat and obtain answers from others. This is also the purpose of the original exam. You don't know, but you have to find a way to know that intelligence gathering is an ability that ninjas must master. And everyone's cheating methods were seen by the chief examiner, Ibushi Mori. He is a special jonin, the captain of the Konoha Anbu torture department. However, even he didn't see it, and at some point, a person suddenly appeared in the classroom. Chinyang struttingly walked in the classroom, and between his walks, everything was invisible. Just like 2-dimensional cartoon characters cannot detect 3-dimensional humans, these ninjas cannot observe 7-star phantom gods. In the end, Chinyang stood beside a grass ninja. Huh. The brow of the grass ninja moved. He had a dark face and a long tongue. He seemed to sense something and frowned slightly. Orochimaru. Kusanagi's body shook, but his face remained unchanged. I am one of the members of the Phantom. Your plan, I have agreed. I will cooperate with you. Attract Konoha's attention. Your hands and feet can be as soon as possible. It turned out to be a phantom organization. This Kusanagi's eyes widened. He found that except him, the others couldn't hear the sound at all. No, let alone hear, not even perception. What kind of ninjutsu is this? Can you suppress the breath to such an extent? No, not the level of ninjutsu. One more thing, if you want to get Sasuke's body, no problem, but you don't break those eyes. That's something that's already been predetermined. If you move it, what will happen? You're ready for it. Quote. Chinyang gave an indifferent warning. Uchiha Sasuke can do anything, and there can be no accident with those eyes. Orochi pills gouge out their eyes, it may affect subsequent growth. Of course, he wouldn't stop Orochimaru either. With such a big boss staring at Sasuke, he could force the opponent to grow up quickly. Chinyang would be happy to watch the show. Then, goodbye. Wait, Kusanagi's Adam's apple moved, and he said silently, "Who are you?" Chin. After one word, there is no sound, and even perception can't be felt. Orochi Wan's heart trembled. Chin. Remember the last time the Shadow Demon said, "You have to tell the Lord Chin Emperor." Could it be that this guy is the leader? What a monster. Just beside him, he can't find the other party. If he wants to kill him, it's really a thought. Orochimaru was dripping with cold sweat, taking the warning just now firmly in his heart. Fantasy absolutely can't be provoked. Chapter 0826-Death Forest. To be honest, Sarutobi Hizen was worried that Danzo would have a conflict with this mysterious ancestor, and there would be no way to deal with the aftermath at that time. Of course, thanks to the fact that the news did not spread, the Chunin exams were still held as usual. The first exam lasted for 1 hour, and there were 26 groups of 78 people who passed the final exam, and the elimination rate was nearly half. Immediately after the first exam, the second exam begins. The examiner in the second round was a female special shinen, named Midori Red Bean. It is worth mentioning that this woman is a disciple of Orochimaru, one of the 3 ninjas. Of course, once, should be added. All the genin who passed the first game accompanied her to a forest outside. This is the practice ground number 44, also known as the Death Forest, and it is also the test site for the second test. Midori Red Bean stood in front of everyone and announced loudly, "Let me explain the specific rules of the second exam first." All genin listened carefully. The rules are simple. In the middle of the dead forest, there is a tower, there is the destination. All the shamanen candidates will be in groups of 3, holding the Book of Heaven and Book of Earth, respectively. Only the group holding the Book of Heaven and Earth can qualify after reaching the tower. 167 inches. Midori Red Bean showed a weird smile. In other words, out of your 26 groups of candidates, at most 13 groups will pass, and at least in the case of everyone, maybe even all of them will be wiped out. Hearing this, many people present felt frowning. Almost half of them were eliminated in the first game. Unexpectedly, more than half of them would be eliminated in the second game. The test time is 120 hours, that is, 5 days. You have to challenge the extreme survival in a limited time, weapons, ninjutsu, illusion, fighting techniques, hidden weapons, no compromises, collect information, and capture the scrolls of other groups at the same time. 3 people arrived at the tower safely. Phew. Midori Red Bean Isho said. Finally, before we start, sign a consent form. I don't care if I die, and I won't be responsible. So, come to me for a scroll, for a 3-point consent form. It's clear, it's still too late to back down. Oh, by the way, before the end of the exam, you must not peek at the contents of the scroll and open it without authorization, which will be regarded as disqualification. As dangerous as it sounds, the first game has been passed, and no one will hold back before the second game starts. Sasuke Uchiha didn't waver, even Naruto Uzumaki didn't hesitate, so Haruno Sakura was a little worried, but in the end, all 3 signed the consent form and got a scroll. Soon, the second assessment officially began, and everyone entered the Forest of Death from different entrances at the same time. After entering the forest, Uchiha Sasuke said immediately, "Hide." Saying that, he took the lead and hid in the tree, and said to the 2 people who followed, "This exam allows to kill people, so we can't rush ahead recklessly, even if we have collected the Book of Heaven and Earth, don't be there. Entered the tower the other day. Why? Wouldn't it be better to pass the exam quickly? Naruto Uzumaki asked suspiciously. Stupid Naruto, someone must be sniping near the tower. Think about it, the team that got another scroll must have gone through a big battle, and the three of them are very tired. If you start at this time, can't you get 2 scrolls at one time? No matter whether your team's scroll is the sky or the earth, you can use this trick to get what you want. Haruno Sakura said angrily. That's right, so what we have to do now is to hide ourselves. Uchiha Sasuke said grimly. After the other 2 teams fight, we are looking for opportunities to catch them all at once. Of course, it doesn't have to be all at once, as long as you get the scroll. After all, it is more dangerous to face the enemy's dying counterattack. Sasuke Uchiha feels that there is nothing wrong with his ideas, as long as he is smart, most of them will make the same choice as him. However, sometimes, some people are still daring. Meanwhile, Entrance 17. U. Sandstorm Burial, Hugh, and G.T. Boom. Most of the trees here are buried and filled with yellow sand. The yellow sand squirmed and spat out 6 corpses. Kankuro stood beside the corpse, dripping cold sweat unconsciously, and looked at Tamari, both feeling heart palpitations. The 2 teams launched sneak attacks one after another, but they were wiped out in an instant. Love, tattooed on his forehead. I love Luo, anyway, this is too exaggerated. Kankuro couldn't help saying. HMPH, show your fangs to me, this is their destination. Gaara is extremely indifferent and lacks even interest in taking a look at the corpse. Go, continue, kill all the teams you see. Hearing this, Kankuro and Tamari looked at each other. Although this is a mission, isn't it going too far? Not afraid of causing Konoha's anger. Although Gaara is the younger brother, and they are the elder brother and sister, but in terms of strength, Gaara is in an absolute position, so they have no way to refute. Just be careful, it should be fine. I hope you don't run into a team that is too powerful, and Konoha's shinobi can't be underestimated. The 2 chatted in a low voice, followed them, and found 2 scrolls from the corpse by the way. 2 Books of Earth. Near Entrance 9. Long-tongued man, grass forbearance, or simply called Orochimaru. He sensed the flow of chakra, and immediately stuck out his tongue and said inwardly, Gaara's side is in action, ho, this chess piece is quite useful. On the upper level of Konoha, there is magic that attracts attention, exams. At the scene, Gaara was making a fuss, and the perfect environment made it easy for me to act. Quote. Thinking of this, he immediately got up and glanced at the 2 already dead Kusanagi. Sasuke Uchiha, let me measure, is your aura as good as Itachi? His body was like molten mud, slowly sneaking into the ground and disappearing. Outside the Forest of Death, Midori Red Bean also heard a huge movement. It seems that the good show has already begun. Many of the candidates this year are good seedlings. I wonder how many will survive. She shook her head and turned around to rest. However, when she turned around, she saw a person behind her. Maidenwashi Red Bean was cold all over, his hair stood upright, and a trace of fear appeared in his heart. The other party was standing 3 meters behind her, but she didn't feel it until she turned around and finally realized it. Who are you guys? Chinyang glanced at her and said lightly, Orochimaru's disciple is so rude. Orochimaru, what's your relationship with that guy? Don't get in the way, the ancestor is not interested in teaching you how to talk to a little girl. Chinyang went straight past, too lazy to pay attention to the other party. However, your second exam is so boring, I'll give those little brats some extras. Walking outside the Forest of Death, Chinyang put one hand on the ground and snorted, spiritualism. Boom. At the same time, his eyes turned into words of reincarnation. P. Chapter 0827 The Headache of Sarutobi Hizuki. Was surprised, looking at the psychic and GT. Not the common ninja dog, ninja frog. The one on the far left is a snake with a body length of more than 100 meters. No, it is not a snake, It is more like an eel. It should be a creature in the sea. However, it appears on land at this moment, and there is no obstruction between actions. Even the body exudes an incomparably viscous liquid, which seems to be strongly corrosive, and the surrounding trees will wither immediately if a trace is touched. The one in the center, the head of a lion, has 3 forked tails, and when it opens its mouth, it swallows and breathes lightning. This is a thunder beast. And the one on the right is just a jellyfish. The whole body is crystal clear, moving and still, as if breathing, floating in the air. This is what? Mitashirari Red Bean stared at the 3 psychic beasts, each of which was beyond her imagination, not to mention seeing it, never heard of it. This is, of course, it is not a psychic beast, it is the captain of the sea beast army. The strength is roughly equivalent to a pirate of over 100 million, and in this world, it can be regarded as the level of general tolerance. This assessment was originally intended to let them fight each other. What you do is too gentle, it's really boring. Chinyong let out a low laugh, and his voice became ethereal. 78 No, there are 70 candidates left, a rule will be added temporarily. There are currently 3 beasts in the Forest of Death, and the team that kills them can directly advance to the 3rd round. Exam, repeat, there are only 3 beasts. In the end, the time for this exam has been shortened from 120 hours to 20 hours. Quote. His voice spread directly through the entire Forest of Death, and all the candidates could clearly understand it, as if the other party was standing in the ear and talking. What do you want to do? Matera's face changed greatly. Go. Chinyong calmly ordered, and when he got the order, the 3 sea beasts acted immediately. They are so large that they are easy to find even when walking in lush forests. Who are you? Damn it. That's going to kill those kids. Maiden Washing Red Bean was very anxious, and Ji Yuxian was not hungry for Chinyong, so he immediately wanted to stop it. She didn't think that any team could win, that kind of thing, even if it was a Jonin to deal with, it would take several people. He old ancestor, what I said is the rules, do you want to die? As soon as Chinyong pointed it out, the space around Yuden Washing Red Bean was solidified. As if the picture had been frozen, Mitara'i Red Bean maintained a running posture and just stayed there. You will be punished to stay here for 20 hours. After 20 hours, you will naturally be able to move. Don't think about who will save you, not to mention whether anyone has mastered space ninjutsu. Even if there is, whoever saves will die. Chinyong snorted lightly and took a step forward, his figure quickly faded, and he disappeared directly across the space. This is a warning to Konoha, whoever said it counts. Of course, the main purpose of doing this is to speed up the progress. Orochimaru has already prepared, of course, the sooner the better. Quote: The Forest of Death, above a big tree. The 3 of Uchiha Sasuke looked at each other and said, you heard that too. Temporarily change the rules. Haruno Sakura shook her head. Isn't it right? Why? There are 3 beasts, let's go hunt and kill them, we can pass directly. Uzumaki Naruto was eager to try, very excited. I care more about that number than this. Sasuke Uchiha frowned. 78 people have become 70 people, 8 people have died, or are they eliminated? 6 of them were killed by Gaara and the other 2 were killed by Orochimaru. Suddenly, there was a tremor from the ground, as if some behemoth was rushing towards this side. You. Sasuke Uchiha's face changed slightly and immediately dodged, jumped to the top of the big tree, and looked in the direction of the periphery of the forest. At a glance, his face became worse and worse. A thunder beast, the thunder lion is running wildly, and it is very difficult to deal with the momentum. Go, he called immediately. Go to the direction of the tower, hurry. Having said that, he has already taken a step forward. Seeing this, Sakura Haruno and Naruto Uzumaki also ran away. Thunder Lion discovered their existence, but didn't mean to chase and kill them, but chased them away like playing with small animals. Of course, there were also short-sighted teams who tried to attack, but were knocked down by a thunderbolt. After running for more than 10 minutes, Sasuke Uchiha noticed something was wrong. No, these three beasts are trying to drive away all the contestants and concentrate them in one area. 9 flowers. Sasuke Uchiha's face was ashen. Why do you do this? The rules before and after are completely conflicted. The original rules, although they were also fighting, were more about tactics and strategy. But now, it is different. It is definitely to let people concentrate in a certain area, and then quickly kill the results. The test is the combat effectiveness. No wonder the time was cut 5 times. Thinking of this, Sasuke Uchiha stopped immediately and said to the other two at the same time, Sakura, Naruto, don't run away. What should I do? Haruno Sakura said nervously. Kill it. Uchiha Sasuke's riding wheel opened immediately, looking at the tired lion from a distance. However, at this moment, a strange laughter came, and a figure slowly emerged from the ground in front of him. Very smart, very good judgment on the situation on the battlefield, worthy of being Itachi's younger brother. Orochimaru stuck out his tongue, and suddenly, a huge murderous aura shrouded the three of them. Give me your eyes. The faces of the three were ashen, and their hearts were terrified. Hokage-sama, it's not good. An Anbu ninja reported very quickly. That man the ancestor summoned 3 powerful psychic beasts in the Forest of Death. What? Sarutobi Hizen was stunned, put down the documents in his hand, and asked as if confirming, what is he going to do? Get all the candidates together, and then fight. Those 3 psychic beasts are very strong, and the General Junin can't deal with them. Now they are driving the candidates. Hearing this, Hiruzen Sarutobi's face darkened immediately. Sure enough, this immortal guy is here to make trouble. He gritted his teeth, shaking with anger. But there was no way, he couldn't fight, and he didn't dare to fight. Thinking of this, Hiruzen Sarutobi looked at the information in his hand with a bitter face. Uchiha Chin, Sengoku era, a very old character, and its active period, the famous Uchiha Madara was just born. Why is this man alive? Sarutobi Hibiki's headache was extremely painful, calculating his age, at least according to the character data more than 100 years ago. He died in a battle, didn't he die at that time? Didn't he die? Chapter 0828 Orochimaru's Gift. As for why Uchiha Chin, who lived more than 100 years ago, can still live to this day, and still maintain his youth, with such terrifying combat power, it is unknown. None of these matters. What matters is that that person is very strong, extremely difficult to deal with, and is now making trouble. What should we do now? Sarutobi Hizen was smoking a cigarette with a thoughtful look on his face. The Anbu ninja below didn't say a word, and he could feel that things were difficult. Moment later, Hiruzen Sarutobi said, notify Kakashi, Kai, and Asuma to stand by outside the Forest of Death at any time. If there is an emergency, it is allowed to stop the exam from continuing. Yes. Anbu ninja took the lead. After a while, Sarutobi Hizen couldn't sit still and was ready to do it himself. However, at this time, Danzo suddenly walked in. His face was a bit gloomy, and he said, I heard that someone from the Uchiha clan appeared. This time it's troublesome, even Danzo knows it. Sarutobi Hizen had a serious face, and the body that had just stood up sat back again. Don't be impulsive, that person is real, and his strength is very strong. Perhaps, it is much more terrifying than Madara Uchiha. HMPH, weakness. That's how Konoha weakened in your hands. Not to mention the power struggle of the upper level of Konoha. In the Forest of Death, Uchiha Sasuke III encountered Orochimaru's sniping. I have the Book of Earth in my hand, and yours is the Book of Heaven. Then, come and snatch it. If you can beat me, you will be qualified. Orochimaru exuded a strong murderous intent, a real murderous aura that enveloped the three of them. Phew. Sasuke Uchiha was trembling uncontrollably. Even if he opened his writing wheel, he couldn't give him a sense of security. He even saw the scene where he was killed, his body lying in the forest. Illusionism. Uchiha Sasuke's spirit fluctuated greatly. No, it's just murderous. This guy wow vomit, cough, cough. With a plop, Sasuke Uchiha fell to his knees, spitting out sour water. Seeing this, Orochimaru raised her eyebrows and said approvingly, "Good quality, compared to the other two, very good." Hearing this, Sasuke Uchiha was startled and looked at Haruno Sakura and Uzumaki Naruto on the left and right. How? He trembled inwardly. Haruno Sakura also knelt on the ground, shivering, her eyes were empty, as if she had lost her soul. And Uzumaki Naruto's state is similar, tears and snot flowing together, it seems difficult to move. Who the hell is this guy? It's definitely not Genin. It's not even at the level of Shangnin. Sasuke Uchiha gritted his teeth, pierced his right leg with kuwu, stimulated himself with pain, and forced himself to stand up. If he doesn't cut it again, it is also Shangnin. He has also faced it. Although that guy's murderous aura is equally terrifying, it is not on the same level as the one in front of him. Film. This guy is a movie class. What to do? What to do? What to do? Sasuke Uchiha thought frantically in his heart, but he had no clue. There is no chance of winning. No, no one in 10,000. Why would there be a shadow-level ninja? This is just a middle ninja exam. Why? He had to get first place, but the desperation in front of him made him completely lose his cool. Suddenly, Naruto Uzumaki stood up, and his pupils changed slightly, becoming the eyes of a fox. You. What are you talking about, Sasuke? Uzumaki Naruto looked angry. So you are such a timid guy. You don't understand at all, idiot. You can't even judge the strength of the enemy. I know he's great, but do nothing and just die. Uzumaki Naruto bit his lip and bit his blood abruptly. Hey, my name is Uzumaki Naruto, and sooner or later I will become a Naruto ninja. If you want the Book of Heaven, just beat me first. Naruto. Sasuke Uchiha looked at each other in surprise. This guy was obviously scared to death, yet he still stood up. Orochimaru found it interesting. Is it a nine-tailed kid? Even the seal was loosened due to my murderous aura, but it wasn't you who I was looking for. Between the words, Orochimaru's left sleeve in the late stage, after wiping it, immediately said, "The art of psychic." Boom. In an instant, a huge python suddenly appeared. Python sprang from behind Orochimaru, opened its huge mouth, and bit the three of them. The technique of multiple shadows. Uzumaki Naruto's instinctive seal, suddenly turned into hundreds of clones, the number of which is not even comparable to the shinobi. However, so many clones are only white, and the python's big tail swept away, killing a group directly. Even its escaped body was rolled up. Orochimaru stood on the top of the python's head, with 5 fingers in the shape of claws, and the 5 characters, Earth, Water, Fire, Wind and Thunder, appeared. The next moment, he slapped Naruto's abdomen fiercely. 5 elements seal. Boom. The sealing technique was applied to Naruto Uzumaki, causing him to turn into 9 tails, and he was immediately beaten back to his original shape. Ah! Naruto Uzumaki screamed and fell towards the ground several dozen meters. Oops! Sasuke Uchiha hurriedly threw out 3 kunai, and with a swoosh, he pinned Naruto Uzumaki's clothes to a branch in the distance, preventing him from being seriously injured. Who the hell are you? Sasuke Uchiha calmed down a little. With your strength, you didn't come for the Chunin exam. The Book of Heaven and Book of Earth are of no use to you. Your goal, is it me? He said bitterly. Haha, have you reacted? You are really excellent, your potential is still above Itachi, and I like you more and more. Orochimaru licked his tongue, and suddenly his hands became imprinted, his head stretched out, and he rushed out. However, that person doesn't allow me to shoot your eyes. It doesn't matter, your body is also worthy. Accept my reward. When you desire strength, you will come to me. Remember my name, I call it Orochimaru. Click. Sasuke Uchiha couldn't dodge in time, and was bitten in the neck. The next moment, a curse mark was engraved on it, and 3 black hook jade appeared where it was bitten. Ah 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 ah. Sasuke Uchiha let out a painful cry. Goodbye, Sasuke, only I can give you the power of revenge. Ho ha ho ho. Orochimaru's body gradually dived into the trees, and his 5.1 weird laughter echoed in the woods. Naruto Uzumaki was in a coma, Sasuke Uchiha fell, and only Sakura Haruno was left kneeling there. This little girl who was only 12 years old finally couldn't bear it anymore and cried loudly. L. Meanwhile outside the forest. Kai looked at Midori Red Bean Bowl strangely. You keep this posture all the time. Is it some special training method? Obviously he was caught in ninjutsu. Kakashi shook his head and said, can you speak? A man who claimed to be the ancestor did it, can you solve it? Midori Anko's face was flushed, not shy, but angry. That won't work, I don't dare. Kakashi said with a wry smile. Master Hokage didn't dare to untie the hand of the ancestor. I don't want to be trained for a while. Ah, bastard, I absolutely can't spare him. Chapter 0829 Hearing this, Kakashi shook his head and said, Lord Hokage's order is to stand by. Unless there are special circumstances, you can't rush in. What are you talking about? Kakashi, isn't the situation special enough? Midori Red Bean said angrily. Although I don't want to admit it, but that was the ancestor did it, so I should be measured, probably. Kakashi thought for a while and said helplessly. Also, even if we go in, if we anger that guy, it won't be much better. Who the hell is that guy? Midori said in disbelief. Why are you so afraid of him? He is the ancestor of the Uchiha clan, a ninja more than 100 years ago, and his strength is still above the shadow. Kakashi glanced at him and walked slowly to the entrance of the forest. This is a very dangerous character 17, and he hasn't done anything bad for Konoha so far, so there can't be a big conflict. The art of psychic. Puff. The white fog flashed, and a ninja dog appeared. Kakashi, what do you call me to do? Park, you enter the forest of death now, investigate the situation and report to me as soon as possible. Kakashi ordered. I hope there will be some outstanding guys in this time, and kill those 3 beasts as soon as possible. After being sluggish for a long time, Haruno Sakura suddenly recovered. No, I can't be in a daze here, I must protect them. Haruno Sakura wiped her tears, got up and ran to help Sasuke Uchiha, and then released Naruto Uzumaki from the tree. After she moved the 2 to a safe place, Vivi breathed a sigh of relief. Huh. Suddenly, she caught a glimpse of where Orochimaru was before, where there was a scroll. That's the Book of Earth. Haruno Sakura's eyes lit up and quickly picked it up. Great, with the Book of Earth, we are already qualified. Now we just need to hide and wait for the 2 to wake up. Boom boom boom. Just as he was thinking, there was a vibration in the distance. Haruno Sakura was startled, then looked into the distance. I saw a thunder lion being besieged by a dozen ninjas. That's the rest of the squad. One of them has thick eyebrows. Haruno Sakura narrowed her eyes and observed carefully. Lee Kuro, Hyuga Neji, TNTN, a team of 3. In addition, there are 3 teams. After hesitating for a while, Haruno Sakura left quickly, supporting Sasuke and Naruto left and right, and escaped as soon as possible. The same time, the entire forest of death was driven away by the 3 beasts summoned by Chinyong, and all the teams were concentrated in one place. The fight broke out soon, but it was not a fight between teams. When facing a strong enemy, these genin chose to join forces. For a while, battles broke out, and loud noises continued. Kakashi's ninja dog, Parker, runs through the forest to investigate intelligence. When I saw the 3 beasts, I was really startled, but these genin were reluctantly dealing with it, and it seemed that there was a little chance of winning. It's just that this isn't a psychic beast, right? I've never heard of such a psychic beast. What the hell is going on? The Forest of Death, the Central Tower. Bing. 1 hour and 37 minutes after the start of the second assessment, footsteps were heard outside the quiet tower. Looks like this is the destination. Konkuro looked at it and said, Konoha's Chunin exam is nothing more than that. Hearing this, Tamari shook his head. Thanks to Gaara's power, I met 3 teams along the way. Basically all of them were instant kills, 2 books of the earth and 1 book of heaven. Just as he was about to enter the tower, Gaara, who was at the front, suddenly stopped. Huh. His eyes were indifferent, and he suddenly raised his head to look at the top of the tower. There was a raised platform, on which stood a man dressed in white. Arrived before me. Gaara narrowed her eyes. Who are you? He. Chinyang looked down at each other and said, Congratulations, you are the first team to pass the second test. The first one, Gaara said indifferently. Aren't you a candidate? As he spoke, he suddenly started without warning. The big gourd behind him suddenly opened the lid, and a strand of yellow sand rushed out, turned into an arrow, and hit Chinyang, who was dozens of meters high. Seeing this, Chinyang waved his hand, as if driving away flies, and slapped the sand into the air. Disappeared. Gaara's eyes flashed, and he found that the sand with his own chakra disappeared abruptly, not being knocked away, but erased. Don't be so irritable, little brat. Although you are allowed to kill the candidates, but provoking the examiners, do you want to die? Chinyang glanced at him. Gaara fell like an ice cellar, his teeth were shaking. I am the examiner for your third exam. Chinyang gave a slight warning. Now, put down your book of heaven and earth, then roll into the tower and wait. Hearing this, Gaara gritted her teeth and gave Chinyang a deep look. In the end, she didn't say much, and silently pushed the door and walked in. Behind him, Tamari carefully put down the 4 scrolls and walked in. Gaara, that guy, Tamari whispered. Gaara said nothing. With just one glance, he knew the difference in strength. It wasn't the difference between the upper and lower tolerances, but the difference between them. 770. He had never seen such a terrifying ninja, and he had no murderous intent. Just a simple glance at him made him incapacitated. Kill him, I should. Gaara's heart poured out a strong killing intent, a kind of madness. One-tailed human pillar power. Chinyang smiled and retracted his gaze. It's really not bad. In terms of combat power, it's probably close to Shang Nin. Generally, Shang Nin is not necessarily his opponent. Tail Beast Collection, no hurry. Anyway, the Shao organization will help him. After the Shao organization gathers all the 9 tails and fuses the 10 tails, he is going to devour them and let the 9 masters advance to 6 stars. The 3 sea beasts have already started fighting, and they can almost be dismissed. In the second round of the exam, it is enough to wipe out 2/3 of the people. Chinyang looked into the distance, his vision penetrated thousands of meters, and stared at everything that was happening. Time slowly passed, and when it was dark, Chinyang made the 3 sea beasts disappear. The rest of the team developed their own methods in the dark night. Since they failed to kill the sea beast, they could only rely on scrolls to pass the examination. Time is only 20 hours, and you must arrive at the tower before 6 o'clock the next day. Chinyang has been sitting on the top of the tower, watching the changes of the sun and the moon. When the sun gradually rose the next day, he slowly opened his eyes. 19 hours 59 minutes 60 seconds left, the exam is over. Immediately into the third session. Chapter 0830 Can no one cure him? Sasuke Uchiha and Uzumaki were in a coma, and it was Haruno Sakura who brought them into the tower. Therefore, they were the last group of qualified candidates. At this moment, in the tower, 21 genin gathered. After waiting for a quarter of an hour, the top of Konoha finally appeared. Sarutobi Hiruzen swept the crowd of ninjas under his eyes, and immediately said in a low voice, "First of all, congratulations, you passed the second test. Those who can pass the Forest of Death have already qualified to become a Chunin. A qualified person in the number of digits, but many accidents happened in the middle. The biggest change was Qin Yang's intervention, which directly shortened the 120-hour exam time to 20 hours. However, the matter has come to this point, and Sarutobi Hizen has no way to change the result, so he can only continue. Because there are too many people, before the official match, there is a preliminaries. Sarutobi Hizen thought for a moment and then decided. However, a word interrupted his continuation. Let me tell you. I saw fluctuations in the space, and a figure emerged from the void. In my opinion, the previous exams are a waste of time. However, to take care of everyone's face, I tried my best to restrain myself. Qin Yang chuckled softly and said, I met you for the first time, and I am the examiner for your third round. Hearing this, there was a commotion below. Qin Yang's way of appearing is too weird, and this group of genin can't understand how he appeared, and it would be too self-willed to dare to interrupt Hokage's speech. Hiruzen Sarutobi twitched his eyes, opened his mouth, and wanted to say something, but Qin Yang glared at him and immediately told him to swallow everything he had to say. Forget it, I hope he doesn't mess around again. Phew. Sarutobi Hizen thought silently, if he really wanted to make trouble, there was nothing he could do. After all, it was not a wise move to anger such a terrifying enemy for a Chunin exam. Everyone, congratulations on your qualified nonsense, I won't say more, and the third exam will be conducted immediately. Qin Yang said lightly. Hearing this, someone immediately said, wait, we have only gone through the second exam, and now we are in a weak state of physical and mental strength, why don't you give us a little rest? Break time. Qin Yang raised his eyebrows, there's no need for that. My test is very simple, neither your physical strength nor your ninjutsu. What underscore. No, torture your souls. Qin Yang shook his head and said bluntly, those who can stand under my pressure are qualified. Don't worry about being unbearable, just like the prey hunted by a lion, you don't need to beat a lion, you just run faster than the people around you. Got it? Wait, this examiner. Haruno Sakura said with a pale face. My two companions are still in a coma, can we wait for them to wake up? It's okay. Qin Yang flicked his fingers, divine healing. Whizzing. Two beams of white light were projected and immersed in the bodies of Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto, instantly healing their dark wounds and making them sober. Sasuke Uchiha frowned, opened his eyes slowly, saw Qin Yang's existence at first glance, and was immediately shocked. Old ancestor. Old ancestor. Others were startled. Qin Yang was too lazy to answer, and continued, then, the third test of the 21 candidates begins, please get ready. Hugh. And GT. Before the words were finished, a suffocating aura emanated from Qin Yang. An instant, 11 of the 21 people immediately fell down. It was as if there was an overwhelming amount of pressure on the top of their heads. These 11 people didn't even have time to react, and they collapsed in an instant. What? Inazukaya was shocked, and he was one of the 11 people. After realizing that he was eliminated, he immediately looked around. There were only 10 people still standing. But only 2 seconds have passed, and there are 9 remaining, followed by the third, 8, 7 in the fourth, 6 in the sixth. Damn. Gaara's face was very ugly. He was already in a half-squat state, and his knees were about to touch the ground. On the other hand, Sasuke Uchiha and Naruto Uzumaki stood there blankly, as if feeling nothing. What's the matter? The two looked at each other, confused. As for Haruno Sakura, she was eliminated immediately. Qin Yang chuckled softly and said, congratulations to the 6 of you for qualifying for the 4th round. The 6 are Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha, Neji Hyuga, Gaara, Kuro Lee, and Kankuro. As for Nara Shikamaru, who should have qualified and finally became the only Chunin, he was eliminated in the first second. This is the end. A Yin Ren said dumbly, impossible, you are partial. These 2 guys who were in a coma just now were not shrouded in any coercion at all. Go away. Qin Yang glanced at him, and a burst of pupil force was projected over, making him unable to speak for a moment. The pressure I exerted is aimed at the qualifications of the soul. Your white soul is like the weeds on the roadside. When the wind blows, it will collapse. Of course, he was deliberately partial, deliberately making Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha qualified. Everyone could see it, and Hizen Sarutobi and others would naturally know, but they didn't speak. Anyway, out of the 6 qualified people, 4 of them are from Konoha. Even if they are dissatisfied, they are also dissatisfied by Sand Ninja Village. At this time, Sarutobi Hizen was looking forward to going to Sand Ninja Village to provoke Chin-young, and then he was taught a hard lesson. My examination is over. Chin-young said to himself. The 4th test is the official competition. At that time, the famous names of other big countries will be invited to watch the ceremony. The 6 of you remember to perform well. This is a good time to show your prestige. Having said this, Chin-young paused for a while before looking at Sarutobi Hizen, and said, "Old man, how long was it originally planned to be held?" 1 month later, because we have to inform the rest of the daimyo, it will take time to get back and forth. Sarutobi Hizen was silent for a moment before speaking. Let them get out in a week, and if they don't come, have them prepare their own coffins. Chin-young directly ordered. A week later, the official game will be held. That's it. After speaking, Chin-young flung his sleeves away, took 1 step and disappeared in an instant. He was not worried that Hiruzen Sarutobi couldn't do it. With the character of the 3rd generation, he would definitely follow his will obediently. Seeing this, the group of Junin behind Sarutobi Hizen looked at each other, all speechless. Especially Mitsuwashi Red Bean. This girl gritted her teeth and dared not speak out. She stared straight in the direction of Chin-yang's disappearance. She was imprisoned for 20 hours, and not long after she was released, she saw the majesty of the old ancestor, and she simply ignored Hokage. Let's do that. Sarutobi Hizen sighed, turned and left without saying anything. He has to think about how to get along with the old ancestor in the future. If he keeps doing this, he will be in trouble as Hokage. Can no one cure him? Sarutobi Hizen thought, if only the 1st generation was still there. Chapter 0831-Kilgara. What? NGT. Sarutobi Hizen's expression changed slightly. It's him, Orochimaru. Midori Red Bean looked complicated, and subconsciously touched his neck. The curse mark also exists on her body, and she has been tortured by it for a long time these years. But Uchiha Sasuke's curse seal seems to be stronger. Orochimaru, what does he want to do? Sarutobi Hizen frowned deeply, with a headache expression on his face. This time, this kind of timing, really hasn't given up the research back then. Shaking his head, he sighed. Leave him alone. Facing him, even if it's me, there's nothing I can do. It would be nice if Jiraiya was there. As for Sasuke Uchiha, leave it to that man. Orochimaru stares at Sasuke. That man shouldn't be silent. Old ancestor. Mitsuwashi Hongdu was resentful, obviously annoyed by Chin-yang's actions. Lord Hokage, do you just let that guy make trouble and do whatever he wants? Red Beans, you still don't understand. If Orochimaru is a crisis, that ancestor is a peerless crisis, let alone me. Even if the whole Konoha is put together, I'm afraid that person is not a match for that person. 707 words. Sarutobi Hizen had returned to the Hokage building. He pushed open the door of the lounge, and prepared to take a break. However, as soon as the door opened, he saw Chin-young sitting there leisurely on the sofa. That's his position. Sarutobi Hiyazano twitched the corners of his eyes and said helplessly, the ancestor of the Uchiha family, why are you here? In response, Chin-young crossed Erlang's legs and drank a small wine, and said, in the forest of death, Orochimaru appeared, and he established Yinin village. Not only that, Yinrin and Sharon joined forces to attack Konoha. What? Hiruzen Sarutobi raised his brows fiercely, shocked by the news. Konoha will be finished now. Ancestor, I will enjoy the scenery under the stage. Chin-young glanced at him with a half-smile but not a smile. Hiruzen Sarutobi was restless, and the news gave him a headache. Why did Sand Ninja join forces with Orochimaru? The two countries are allies. Although breaking the alliance is nothing new, why did they choose at this time? Thinking of this, he immediately asked, what is the plan of the old ancestor who took the initiative to tell me such a thing? Does it have anything to do with me? Chin-young rolled his eyes. In fact, it really has a little relationship, and he is also one of the driving forces behind the comparison. The reason why I told Sarutobi Hizen now is just to prepare the other side so that the two sides can fight a little harder and weaken the strength of both shinobi villages to the extreme. At that time, the other three major powers will also be unable to hold back. Finally, let the Shao organization add a fire, and the ninja world war begins. Don't expect me to help you. Konoha is just a Uchiha Sasuke now, why should I help you? He seek more blessings, Sarutobi Hizen. The voice faded, and the laughter remained, but the person had disappeared through the space. Sarutobi Hizen's face was ugly, and after a long silence, he shouted to the outside, go use the ninja pigeon and contact Jiraiya. The land of wind, Sand Ninja Village. The environment here is harsh, there is yellow sand everywhere, and all the buildings are desert style. At this moment, in the Fungying building in the village, two village elders are reporting the situation. Lord Cascage, news from Konoha. Joinin said in a deep voice, regarding the Chunin exam, Gaara and Konkuro made the cut. The official competition will be held in 7 days. Oh, faster than expected, just over a day has passed. Behind the curtain, Fungying was wearing a bamboo hat and could not see his face clearly. This is because something changed. After a moment of silence, the Jonin general briefly recounted the information. It can be seen that the examiner in the third round is a very scary ninja, and it seems that even Hokage can't do anything about him. Regarding the plan, do you want to continue? It's okay. Fungying waved his hand and said, since it will start in 7 days, then leave as soon as possible. This time, no matter what, we will attack Konoha. Yes. The next day. Uchiha's house. Sasuke Uchiha knelt down in front of Chin-young. He was in pain and covered with strange incantations. Ancestor. Do you want me to remove it for you? Chin-young, Vivi Isho, said, Sasuke, what is that, do you know? What? That thing is called a curse seal, which can make you stronger. Although I can help you get rid of it, the choice is ultimately yours. You must have experienced it firsthand today. The power of the mantra will make you stronger. Sasuke Uchiha gritted his teeth. As long as it can make me stronger, I can still endure this pain. Very well, this is the boy of my Uchiha clan. Chin Yangtian shamelessly said, I am very satisfied with you, Sasuke. Now, I will teach you more powerful ninjutsu. Look good. As he said that, Chin-young grabbed his right hand, and suddenly, lightning flashed. Thunderclaw. Impressive. Sasuke Uchiha was shocked. Although he had also learned it, compared to the ancestor in front of him, it was not at the same level at all. The same move, the opponent's blow was far stronger than himself. However, at this moment, his eyes suddenly became fiery, and all of a sudden, Guyu appeared in his eyes. Puff. A wisp of black flame was born and wrapped around Chin-yang's arm. Hey, as expected, it was to smother me. Chin-yang was in no hurry, and with a thought, he directly wiped out the fire of Amaterasu. Itachi Uchiha really worked hard, but unfortunately, a little Amaterasu is useless. Ancestor. Sasuke Uchiha was startled and asked suspiciously. Don't be nervous, this little thing is not worth worrying about. Chin-yang went on to demonstrate that the Thunder Claw evolved into a Thunder Sword, and the Thunder Sword was stretched and turned into a Thunder Spear in an instant. A strong aura filled the entire hall. This is the evolution of the moves. Muji ninjutsu can be mastered as long as you master the method and a little practice. The problem is that your chakra is not enough. Chinyang said. Of course, chakra is not enough. I have a way to improve you, but Sasuke, you must do one thing. Please ask the ancestors to order. 6 days later, during the game, kill Gaara. Huh, why? Don't ask why. You just do it. What do you think they're here for? The Chunin exam is the epitome of the war between great powers. If you kill him, it will only promote the prestige of Konoha, and let Sandin more and more afraid of Konoha. Quote. Chinyang let out a low laugh and placed a palm on Sasuke's head. Next, I'll help you improve your chakra. Be careful, don't pass out. The next moment, a force interfered with Uchiha Sasuke's whole body cells and began to develop its potential. The screams suddenly sounded, piercing the sky and the ground. Chapter 0832-Undercurrent. On the eve of the upcoming Chunin exam, Jiraiya returned to Konoha. He received a message from Konoha and learned the seriousness of the matter, so he hurried back. Naruto Building, a secret room. Sarutobi Hizen is discussing tomorrow's affairs with a group of Junin. The Sand Ninja is aggressive, and you all know about the changes on the border between the two countries. It is very likely that a war will break out tomorrow. You must be fully prepared. Lord Hokage, is the information really reliable? After all, it's that guy, maybe deliberately sow discord. What's in it for him to do this? Another Junin shook his head. Uchiha Chin's strength is so strong. If he really wants to do something, I'm afraid it will be more dangerous. He deliberately spread false information. I can't think of the purpose of the hierarchy. Quote. Yin Ren and Sand Ren joined forces to attack Konoha. This kind of big crisis made everyone here feel heavy. Not long after the Third Ninja World War, most of the Jonin people present had seen the cruelty of war. Anyway, it's always right to prepare more. Sarutobi Hizen said solemnly, the news is not easy to spread, it must be kept secret, you know Just as he was talking, the door of the secret room was pushed open, and Jiraiya also walked in. Sarutobi Hizen looked up and was immediately taken aback. Jiraiya, the way you look, what's going on? Compared to the last time we met, Jiraiya in front of him was miserable. There was blood on his face, his chest was obviously injured, and his left arm was covered with bandages. His breath was very unstable and he looked a little weak. As soon as he entered the door, Jiraiya saw Hiruzen Sarutobi and said with a wry smile, I'm too arrogant, I didn't expect that kind of ninja. What the hell happened? Sarutobi Hizen felt incredible. Can I hurt you so much, Orochimaru? No, even Orochimaru doesn't have this level of power, and he and Jiraiya are only in the same league. It's Yahiko. Jiraiya said. Remember the 3 children I adopted during the Ninja World War? One of them awakened Rinnegan, calling himself Pen, and now occupied Yu Ninja Village. The outside, Shao organization, is him created. Quote. Since the last time he escorted Naruto and the others back from the Land of Waves, Jiraiya searched for Akatsuki's traces all the way, and finally traced them to Urin Village. In Urin Village, he fought with Pain, but unfortunately lost, was beaten and fled with serious injuries. To be honest, thanks to Qin Yang's destruction of Pain's 2 clones before, Pain only had 4 when Zilayi came to the door. Otherwise, it would be a question whether he could come back alive. Sean, after I escaped, I received a letter not long after, so I hurried back. Jiraiya took a deep breath and said, is Orochimaru really planning to attack Konoha? Sarutobi Hizen stared blankly for a while before shaking his head. Jiraiya also suffered such a serious injury and his strength has plummeted. Even if he rushes back now, tomorrow will not be Orochimaru's opponent. It seems that tomorrow, I can only rely on him, Hokage, to deal with Kazekage and Orochimaru. You are seriously injured, get a good rest first. Thinking of this, Hiruzen Sarutobi immediately said, let the people from the medical class come over and keep it secret. Jiraiya is our last resort. Yes. At the same time, Urin Village crawled out. If you look closely, it is a male, not very old, but looks old. Bing. How do you feel? Nepenthes emerged from the ground, it is absolutely strong. Nagato whispered. The vitality of that, blood of longevity, has brought me back to my peak. Your appearance has not changed, Ju said with a scrutiny. Is that so? Nagato drank lightly, and suddenly, his shriveled body quickly began to recover, and his chi and blood filled him back to his youthful appearance. A redhead. It's a miracle, Ju exclaimed. The things in the hands of that organization are really interesting. This is only temporary. If I don't continue to replenish the blood of immortality, I will be back to that way soon after. Nagato frowned. Don't worry about this, just replace it with a scroll. During this time, we have sorted out the scroll, and there are about 600 copies, enough to exchange for what you want. 9 flowers. Ju snorted and said, by the way, let me tell you some interesting news. Jiraiya, who was repelled by you, has returned to Konoha. It seems that because Orochimaru was going to attack Konoha and teamed up with Sand Shinobi, he had to go back to support. Orochimaru and Sand Shinobi. Nagato narrowed his eyes. This seems to be an opportunity. I think so too. Although we are not fully prepared, this opportunity is worth trying. Do you want to go? Heiju asked. Baiju continued, do you need me to summon other people? Sean. No, I'm enough alone. Just try the power of my new self. Nagato pushed open the door and walked outside. It was dark at the moment, and the sky of Urin village was full of gloom. I'm going, I'll leave it to you for the time being. The next day. On the day of the Chunin exam, Konoha's east gate opened wide in the early morning, and a group of people entered from the outside. It is the name of the country of fire, the name of the country of wind, the wind shadow of the country of wind and so on. These people sat in sedan chairs and entered Konoha openly. There were also onlookers on the side of the road, curious about the visit of high-level officials from other countries. In the Hokage building, Hiruzen Sarutobi looked in the direction of the gate and said, it's business as usual, don't expose it. Yes. At Uchiha's house, Chinyong also withdrew his gaze, and immediately let out a low laugh. It's finally about to start, hurry up and fight, when Gaara is dead, Konoha and Sand Shinobi will really break out. Thinking like this, he turned to look at Sasuke Uchiha and said, stop cultivating, go ahead, the 4th exam will start soon, don't fall for Uchiha's reputation. Sasuke Uchiha was doing it cross-legged in the yard, and the thunder attribute chakra flickered all over his body. Compared with a few days ago, his chakra volume increased several times. Suddenly, Sasuke Uchiha opened his eyes, which were 3 eyes. Nodding his head, Sasuke Uchiha got up and saluted Chinyong respectfully before stepping out of the door. Please rest assured, ancestors, soon, the world will fear Uchiha's name again. _Filu reminds you. 3 things about reading, collection, recommendation and sharing. K48440. Chapter 0833 official match begins. It was mainly Konoha's people, who were eliminated from other countries, and they were also sitting in the audience at this time, waiting for the start of the game. In the central building, the most conspicuous positions are Hokage, the country of fire, and Fengying, the country of wind. Fengying is a middle-aged man, wearing a bucket hat and a black mask. He can't see his face clearly, but his eyes are very sharp. It's been a long journey, it's really hard for you. Hiruzen Sarutobi hid the needle in his words, and said politely. Where fortunately, it was held in Konoha. Fengying's voice was hoarse and strong. Although you are still young, if you travel far, you will suffer. The implication is naturally that the 3 generations are old. If the Chunin exam is held in Sand Ninja Village, at the age of 3 generations, they may die on the way. Sarutobi recut his skin and smiled, but he knew exactly what Fengying was thinking. It's better to decide on the candidates for the 5th generation earlier, isn't it? Ha ha ha, don't always think of me as an old man, but I still want to work for 5 years. Haha Isho then slowly got up, walked to the platform, and shouted to the crowd, "Everyone! Thank you all for coming here to participate in the Chunin exam held in hidden village of Konoha." Pause, he continued. This Chunin exam, there are 143 reference people in total, and after 3 selections, 6 people stood out in the end. Next, the 6 contestants who pass the pre-selection will take the official Chunin exam. Just please everyone, please enjoy it. Quote. As soon as the voice fell, the 6 genin had already entered the circle for 5 performances. These 6 people are Uchiha Sasuke, Uzumaki Naruto, Gaara, Kankuro, Hyuga Neji, and Lee Kuro. Before the 6 people, Konoha's special Jonin was already waiting. "I'm your official field examiner, Gecko Hurricane." Quote. Pause. Gecko Hurricane continued. Listen, this is the last game. The game is based on a knockout system. The game will be played against each other. Only if one side dies or concedes defeat will it end. There are no restrictions, and any means can be used. But when I decide the game is over, I'm going to stop the game, understand? Saying that there is no limit, it seems like a life and death fight, but this is just a nice statement. As an examiner, Gecko Blast of course can't make people really die. Whether it's Konoha's people or Sand Ninja's people, it's a big trouble to die here. Then, I start announcing the roster. Gecko Gale took out a scroll and slowly opened it. The first game, Naruto Uzumaki vs. No, the list has been changed. Gecko Hurricane was taken aback. As an examiner, of course he knew the specific battle list. And this list was decided after their discussions. Originally, it was planned that Gaara would fight 2 times in a row, and finally hand it over to Konoha's strongest shamanen Hishiang Neji to solve it, but now. What's wrong, examiner? Uzumaki Naruto said eagerly. Who is my opponent? Your opponent. Gecko broke out in a cold sweat, gritted his teeth, and said according to the list on the scroll, the first game, Naruto Uzumaki vs Sasuke Uchiha. Second match, Hyuga Neji vs Lee Kuro. The third game, Gaara vs Kankuro. What? Sarutobi Hizen and Kazekage were both startled. The arrangement of this list is too strange. This is not decided by lottery. Even if it is a lottery, there are ways to make the list proceed as expected. Now this list is completely civil war. Naruto and Sasuke are the 7th class. Hyuga Neji and Lee Kuro are also the same. The next 2, even Sand Ren, are brothers. Who moved the hands and feet? Sarutobi Hizen's thoughts changed, and he immediately reacted, that man. I knew it would not be so stable. This is bad. In the battle between Gaara and Kankuro, Kankuro must have voluntarily conceded and won, and in the second round, Gaara outlines. In the third round, the final, a Gaara, who has no consumption at all, will face a Konoha shamanen who has played 2 consecutive games. What on earth does he want to do? Sarutobi Hizen's expression was not very good. On the other hand, Kazekage, after the initial stunt, suddenly smiled. I didn't expect Konoha to arrange it like this. It seems that Hokage-sama is very interested in the name of the strongest genin between the 2 countries. The final is the decisive battle between the 2 countries' ninjas, and naturally there are other meanings in it. At this point, Sarutobi Hiruzen Zenkwan didn't know, and said with a smile, we're just a coincidence. Conversation is going on above, and the gecko wind continues below. Then, the other 4 will exit first. Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha, the 2 of you are ready to start the game immediately. Hearing this, Hyuga Ninki and the others retreated and left the martial arts field, leaving space for the 2 of them to compete. Naruto Uzumaki clenched his fists, his expression showing a strong fighting intent. Sasuke, I didn't expect it to be you. Although I thought about it last night, I would definitely meet you, but I'm very happy to fight you in the first game. Shun in this regard, Uchiha Sasuke has a cold expression. After the development of Qinyang's potential, he no longer regards Genin and even Chunin in his eyes. He has only one goal now, to reach the finals, kill Gaara, and promote the name of Uchiha. Naruto, admit defeat, you have no chance. Hearing this, Naruto Uzumaki frowned. The next moment, chakra began to pour out of the body. It was not ordinary chakra, but nine-tailed chakra. At this moment, it started to skyrocket. Naruto Uzumaki himself didn't know this change, but just a moment of anger, and then this anger was expanded, and then gradually turned into a tail beast. Saw, help. Boom. He stepped out one step at a time, and the whole figure rushed forward like a cannonball. Tailed beast. When will he be able to control it? Uchiha Sasuke immediately opened the wheel and saw all the trajectories. No, it's not a control, it's a sudden runaway. Before he had time to think about it, he quickly retreated 5.7 while making a mark with both hands. Fire escape. Phoenix Immortal Fire Technique. Puff puff. One after another small fireballs spit out from his mouth, the number of which is more than a dozen, and instantly blocked all directions of Naruto Uzumaki. Boom. In this regard, Naruto Uzumaki didn't dodge at all, rushed up arrogantly, and exploded a fireball with one punch. How could I admit defeat? In the audience, countless people were shocked. The shadow of the Nine Tails still exists in the hearts of everyone, but Hokage and Kazekage have solemn expressions. At the top of the central building, Chinyang sat down leisurely, watching this scene playfully. Nine-tailed chakra, do you want to turn Zuli into a tailed beast and resurrect the nine-tailed? The tailed beast will not die. As long as there is chakra, it can be reborn. Unfortunately, that little chakra, not even 1/10 of the heyday of the Nine Tails. How could it be Sasuke, that kid's opponent? Chapter 0834_Tailed Beast and Curse Mark. The next moment, he held high and slashed towards Naruto Uzumaki. But at this moment, Naruto is in the state of half-tailed beast. When running, he is lying on the ground on all fours. Facing the light speed slash of Thunder Sword, one rolls sideways and avoids directly. Roar. His teeth became sharp, a beard appeared on his face, and he got closer to Sasuke Uchiha, then jumped and punched and slammed it down. So fast, faster than Kakashi. Sasuke Uchiha was taken aback. He didn't expect Naruto Uzumaki to have such a speed after he became a tailed beast. During the last mission in the Land of Waves, he had been entangled with Uchiha Itachi, and had no time to observe the battle between Naruto and the ghost shark. Although it's very fast, you can see clearly. Sangoyu stared at each other's 17 movements. Uchiha Sasuke only felt that everything in the outside world seemed to have slowed down several times. The next moment, the thunder light flashed on his right hand, the thunder sword disappeared, transformed into thunder claws, and grabbed directly past. Boom. The fists and claws collided, and the direct collision between the nine-tailed chakra and the thunder attribute chakra suddenly set off a powerful wind and waves, and raised dust all around. Seeing this scene, exclamations continued from the audience. This a genin. Never mind Naruto, that's the power of Nine Tails chakra, but Uchiha Kid, how can he be so strong? It's terrifying. This is the genin in the official competition, and it has the strength of Chunin and above. In the central building, a joinin next to Sarutobi Hizen frowned. Hokage-sama, this is not good. Is it better to suspend the game? If you continue to let it go, Naruto will go berserk, but it will not end well. His name is Shikaku Nara, the squad leader of Konohakami. It is one of the high-rise buildings in Konoha. Indeed, but Sarutobi Hizen raised his head, glanced at the direction of the roof, nothing happened, and continued to let them compete. He was thinking about Chin Yang's reaction. Since this person arranged this kind of battle list, he would definitely not let Sasuke die under Renzuli. Just thinking about it, the dust dissipated in the martial arts field. Only then did everyone see the two sides of the battle, Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto, still maintaining a wrestling posture. One punched, one claws, and between tears, Sasuke seemed to be attacked by nine-tailed chakra. At this moment, the curse mark on his neck suddenly started to erupt, and the strange black runes covered half of his face, extending all the way down, dyeing half of his body. Naruto! With a loud shout, Sasuke Uchiha suddenly exerted his strength and smashed the opponent into the air. Give it up. Go on, I'm afraid I'll kill you myself out of control. He said in a cold voice. He couldn't fully control the power of the curse seal. After a long time, he would lose his mind. Chinyang didn't put a seal on him, and let the curse seal attack completely. Hearing this, Naruto Uzumaki groaned in pain, and nine-tailed chakra began to invade his consciousness. It was as if the whole world was being swallowed by darkness. It seems that somewhere, a voice is tempting it. Yes, that's it, anger, killing intent, and negative emotions will make you accept this power faster. Let's become one. Ah! Naruto Uzumaki let out a painful roar, and suddenly, nine-tailed chakra formed a tail behind him. And this change is still going on. It seems that the second tail is condensing. Oh! On the top of the building, Chinyang raised his eyebrows. I see. It's swallowing Naruto's life force and losing his self-consciousness. In order to revive Naruto, he wants to turn Naruto into a beast. Think about it carefully. Thinking about it, it seems to be really feasible. After all, it is the Whirlpool family. He didn't bother to stop it. He didn't care much about Naruto's life or death, but the nine tails were resurrected, which was better for him. However, the mere first tail, even if it reaches the second tail, is not the opponent of that kid now. It seems to be confirming his words. Facing Naruto Uzumaki, who continues to transform into a beast, Sasuke Uchiha can no longer hold back his killing intent. The power of the curse mark made his consciousness completely ruthless. The gun of thunder. Suddenly, he clapped his hands up and down, and then suddenly pulled away to the sides. The next moment, the electric light flickered, and the thunder sounded. A long spear of thunder gradually began to condense. Not good. Sarutobi Hizen was shocked, and even he felt heart palpitations at the power of that move. At this moment, he didn't have time to think about it. He flashed and rushed out. Not only him, but also the 4 other people who did it in an instant. The audience only felt that the shadow flashed, and all the chakra fluctuations suddenly dissipated. I saw Naruto Uzumaki, being held in place by Hiruzen Sarutobi, unable to move. And Uchiha Sasuke, his hands, neck, and heart were locked. Kakashi and Kai controlled his hands respectively, Asuma Sarutobi locked his neck from behind, and Kunai stared at his heart when he squeezed it. Uchiha Sasuke was shocked, and then the power of the curse began to fade. That's it, Kakashi said solemnly. Sasuke, do you want to kill your companion? Is greater than or equal to, no. Uchiha Sasuke's face was sinking, angry at the power of the curse. It was controlled unexpectedly. On the other hand, Kakashi was very shocked. If the Thunder-type ninjutsu was really completed, it would be possible to kill Naruto. Uchiha's ancestor, how many powerful ninjutsu did he teach him? 593. He was extremely uneasy in his heart. At the same time, Sarutobi High cut 5 fingers into claws, and suddenly slapped Naruto Uzumaki on the abdomen. 5 elements seal. Boom. With a muffled sound, Naruto Uzumaki was shocked. Then, the 9-tailed chakra receded like a tide. Soon, he regained his clarity, but he didn't have time to say anything, just closed his eyes and passed out. Is the life force draining too much? It's hateful and dangerous to go on like this. Sooner or later, Naruto will be unable to bear it, or he will die, or he will become a runaway tailed beast. Sarutobi Hizen felt sad in his heart and felt very sorry for the 4th generation. However, now is not the time to think about that. He helped Naruto up, got up and said, Uzumaki Naruto lost consciousness, the game is over, Uchiha Sasuke wins. Kakashi, take him down to rest first, and let the people in the medical class do their best. Please. Yes. Kakashi nodded and left the martial arts field with Naruto in a coma. After doing this, Sarutobi Hizen returned to his position. Funying laughed softly and mocked, "It's a good show, I didn't expect Lord Hokage to take action." "Shut up now." Sarutobi Hizen lived up to his previous smile and said indifferently, "Watch the game." Seeing this, Funying Vivi narrowed his eyes, but he didn't say anything. Second scene, Hyuga Neji S. Lee Kuro. Pen. Chapter 0835_Dominance Circle and 8 Inner Gates. He has a pair of white eyes, and is the patriarch of the Hyuga clan, who possesses one of the 3 major pupil techniques, white eyes. His name is Hyuga Hazu, the father of Hinata Hinata, and the uncle of Hyuga Neji. Sitting beside him is Hinata Hinata, and the second daughter, Hana Hinata. Seeing his cousin approaching the martial arts arena, Hinata Hinata was still in a state of entanglement. He was still thinking about Naruto Uzumaki just now. Contrary, it was the second daughter Hana, who was only 7 years old and looked at the arena with curiosity. Now for the second game, players from both sides are invited to enter the arena. Gecko Gale stood in the middle of the field and shouted loudly. Soon, Hyuga Neji and Lee Kuro walked into the martial arts arena, and both of them had very serious expressions. "Ready." Gecko Galfeng glanced at the two and said, "Explain beforehand, don't use the power you don't have, this is the only limit." Affected by the situation of the first game, he had to say one more thing. Although it was just forbearance, he didn't dare to underestimate it. The previous two, one-on-one, he was not sure that he would win. No, he would even be killed. The game begins. After shouting, Gecko quickly stepped back to the sidelines. At this time, Lee Kuro put on a fighting stance, although I said, Konoha's strongest genin is me, a week ago, before the first exam, but in fact, it was just a wish. Neji, you are very strong, and I have no chance of winning against you. Hearing this, Hyuga Neji seemed very calm. You are too modest, Lee, I know your strength, and no one can tell the outcome between us. Pause, he said again, but I inherited Konoha's strongest fighting technique genre, the name of the White-Eyed Clan. I'm not allowed to lose here, I'm sorry Lee. Saying that, his 5 fingers Vivi folded, he took a big step under his feet, and slammed a punch. Soft boxing. Although it is called boxing, in fact, it is more like palm technique. At this moment, a palm slashed out, and a chakra shockwave suddenly shot out of his mouth, aiming at Lee Kuro's chest and abdomen, wanting to hit his opponent hard. Bagua empty palm. Boom. There was a burst of sound in the air, and a strong force of space struck. Lee Kuro's movements were vigorous, and in one leap, he jumped high, and while turning in the air, the bandage wrapped around his hand also hung down like a silk version. As if he had eyes, he circled around Hyuga Neji. I know your style very well. There's no chance. Hyuga Neji's eyes narrowed, and in an instant, the blue veins at the corners of his eyes burst out, and the breadth of vision instantly reached a 360-degree perspective. Gossip back to the sky. Suddenly, Hyuga Neji spun at a high speed, and the palm prints he made one after another formed an air defense circle around him. Oh! On the top of the building, Chinyang was surprised. Is there a space control circle in martial arts? I didn't expect the world of ninjas to have this level. Of course he has read the original Naruto, but after seeing the specific moves, it is more intuitive. This ability of Hyuga Neji, in martial arts, is called air control circle. Simply put, it is the distance between the hands and the absolute defensive range formed. Unfortunately, it's only at the elementary level. Chinyang thought calmly, if you are at an advanced level, you can hit someone like a painting with just that slap, instead of thunder and rain. There is a similar saying in the world of martial arts in Earth China. In short, if a person hits the martial arts Daxian with a punch, he can hit a person like a painting and hang on the wall without falling. This is strength, the technique of strength. Of course, Hyuga Neji is far from this level. But as far as talent is concerned, this guy is really good. Chin-young really likes this child, but unfortunately he has no interest in accepting male disciples, and he doesn't even care about female disciple Arturia. In the original book, there is this guy who died tragically, and the rest of the people, no matter what injuries they suffered, were able to jump around in the end, and even if everyone died, they could still survive. Only this guy, after he died, was really dead. Although I don't accept male disciples, it has also changed the future. I think you won't end up like that. Chin-young shook his head and stopped paying attention. Children's fights, just like that, are no fun. In contrast, he felt that a very strong aura was invading Konoha. This strength is based on the standard of 3 generations, at least the shadow, and it is still the top level in the shadow. Xiao, Chin-young raised his eyebrows and thought playfully, even Xiao is here to join in the fun. It's a bit interesting, this is the death of Konoha. Not to mention that he is watching a play here, the competition in the martial arts field is still going on. The face of Huishin, Lee Kuro returned without success. He couldn't perform at all. For the air control circle, conventional means were useless at all. After turning around for a while, Hyuga Neji also stopped and said, "Give it up, Lee, the real opponent is the one in the final, and the fight against you can be put later." "No, I've known Bagua Jong for a long time, and it really isn't that easy to deal with." Sean. Lee Kuro gritted his teeth, very unwilling. He looked at Kai in the stands. "Mr. Kai, I'm sorry, I can only use this trick." "Wait." Kai looked surprised. "You haven't completely completed your cultivation." 8 inner gates. Lee Kuro yelled, and the whole person's momentum rose rapidly. The first gate, gate of opening. Boom. Spewed out of Lee Kuro's body as if it were a dam to release floodwater. "This is..." Hyuga Neji was taken aback. His white eyes could clearly see through everything, and Lee Kuro's chakra was improving at an incredible speed. 8 inner gates. Hong, who was also in the stands, exclaimed, "You really spread out such a dangerous trick, he might die." 8 inner gates, Konoha advanced fighting technique. Everyone's body has 8 doors that inhibit their own chakra, and by temporarily opening one of the doors, one can gain power far beyond their own limits. And every time a door is opened, the power is multiplied. 8 inner gates. In the resting place, Uchiha Sasuke also looked at all this. "When the ancestors helped me improve chakra, I used a similar method, right? But, looking at Lee Kuro's appearance, it was only a temporary improvement, and a one-time permanent improvement." He couldn't help but feel a bit of admiration in his heart. As expected of the ancestor, this kind of ability, even Hokage does not have. Just as he was thinking, Lee Kuro in the field suddenly moved. His speed doubled, and in the blink of an eye, he was close to Neji Hyuga. Beauty Lotus. Quote. Philo reminds you, there are 3 things to read: collection, recommendation and sharing. K48440. Hash. Original works of Philo Novel Network, and enjoy the joy of reading. Chapter 0836_lose both. Half empty, and GT. It's fast. Lee's normal speed is already fast, and after opening 8 inner gates, it's even faster. Hyuga Neji was not panicked. They were both members of the same team, and the two were still very familiar with each other. About 8 inner gates. At this moment, Lee Kuro flew up and flashed behind Hyuga Neji. Immediately afterwards, he bound the opponent from behind with a bandage, and held the opponent to spin at a high speed. Like a drill, the two fell from the sky and fell straight to the ground. In the stands, Uchiha Sasuke felt a little fluctuating in his heart. This move is very dangerous, but Neji Hyuga can resist it. If it was me, I wouldn't give the opponent a chance to get close. It seems that these two are no longer my opponents. My opponent is that sand shinobi. While thinking about it, a roar broke out in the martial arts field. The two fell to the ground, slammed down hard, and set off 700 rolls of smoke. It takes a while for the audience to see the specific situation. There was blood on Neji Hyuga's forehead, but he still stood there and didn't fall down. The same way, Lee Kuro was also traumatized, and the two of them were half a catty. The moment you landed just now, you used the bagwazong to break free, and hit the ground with an empty palm to resist the impact. You really are a genius, Neji. Lee Kuro said with admiration. Cough. Hyuga Neji coughed a few times and said inwardly, 8 inner gates have a time limit. Compared to attacking, delaying defense at this time saves chakra's time. He decided to wait and see, save his stamina and chakra. Lee Kuro opened the first door. He is not his opponent. If he delays time, he will naturally win. But Lee Kuro obviously knew Ninki very well, and said at this moment, do you want to delay time? Yan Ninki, I will not lose to you. The second gate, Gate of Healing. With a loud shout, another door was opened in Lee Kuro's body, and chakra was further improved. What? Hyuga Neji was taken aback, even the second door. Not enough. Against you, 2 gates are not enough, the third gate, Gate of Life. Lee Kuro yelled, and the chakra burst out like a flame, already visible to the naked eye. His skin became dark red due to congestion, and there were violent blue veins on his face. Lilianwa. Whoosh. Instant, Lee Kuro's speed had skyrocketed to an unbelievable level. His speed was so fast that Hyuga Neji could only see a shadow when moving at a high speed. The next moment, bang! Hyuga Neji only raised her hand to protect her chest, and was kicked away. He flew upside down and was about to crash into the martial arts field, but Lee Kuro took a quicker step, intercepted him behind him, and punched him hard at the same time. Boom! This punch slammed into the back of Hyuga Neji firmly. With one blow, Hyuga Neji couldn't help but vomit blood, and the man was sent flying again. Lee. Hyuga Neji rolled a few laps, and stood upright despite the pain. He didn't even have time to wipe the blood, so he immediately put on a soft fist posture. Gossip 64 palms. When Lee Kuro approached again, Hyuga Neji made a palm shadow in just a short moment. 64 palms, hitting the opponent's 60 acupuncture points, with the purpose of blocking the opponent's chakra release. Lee Kuro was hit in several places immediately, but when he opened the 3 gates, he didn't care about his injuries and responded with a punch. In this short moment of confrontation, neither of them knew how many moves the amplifier had made. The fists and palms were intertwined into a shadow, and ordinary people couldn't see it clearly. Bang bang bang. The blood splattered, and there was Hai Shangningji and Lee Kuro. The frantic attacks of the two caused extensive damage to each other. In the roar, both of them are encouraging persistence. The whole audience was stunned. This completely lethal style of play made people feel heart palpitations. It's too fast, you can't see the specific punches at all. 8 inner gates and bagwazong, awesome power. In terms of speed, is Lee a little faster? Will it be him who wins? Everyone stared unblinkingly, waiting for the moment of victory. This moment came quickly. After throwing more than 100 punches in succession, Lee Kuro gathered his final strength into one punch. This punch broke the bagua-jong and slammed into the chest of Hyuga Ningji. Boom! With a wow, Hyuga Ningji vomited blood in the air, and the whole person flew several dozen meters and hit the rock wall. In an instant, the rock wall cracked, and his whole person was embedded in the wall. It's Lee who wins. Tian Tian said in astonishment. Ningji. She worries about the safety of Hyuga Neji again. No Xiao Li. Kai's face was very ugly, he lost consciousness. Sure enough, in the next second, Lee Kuro's body spasmed a few times, his eyes were white, and he fell straight forward. Is greater than or equal to. Boom. A muffled sound brought everyone back to their senses. At this time, the coughing sound came. I saw Hyuga Neji walking out of the wall. He staggered a few steps and vomited a mouthful of blood. What a genius, you are the one who must be admired guy. Losing the strength to support himself, Hyuga Neji also fell. Gecko took a deep breath and walked over to Neji Hyuga, taking a deep breath. Hyuga Neji, Lee Kuro, lost consciousness, tied. He was helpless, but he couldn't help but said with admiration, "If you can achieve this level, you already have the strength of Chunin. Take a good rest, your game is over." Having said that, he looked at Hokage and said, "In the second game, no one made the cut, and the third game will follow, Gaara vs Kankuro." As soon as he finished speaking, Gaara walked out coldly. "Does it hurt both sides? HMPH, there is no need to pay attention to this kind of unpalatable blood." He turned his eyes and locked Sasuke Uchiha in his seat. Come on. I'm going to kill you." He ignored everyone and stared at Sasuke. Hizen Vivi frowned. "This child." "Hee, Lord Sandai." Feng Ying chuckled softly. "On our side, Kankuro voluntarily conceded defeat, and Gaara advanced to the finals. Can we start the competition for the strongest Jinin between the two countries?" Below, Kankuro stood up and shouted to Gecko Gale, "I abstain." Hearing this, Gecko Case didn't say anything, but Sasuke Uchiha suddenly came out. He looked at Gaara, and a murderous intent came out. "You want to kill me? Interesting, I happen to want to kill you too." Chapter 0837-Teacher Jiraiya met again. From the gourd behind Gaara, a large stream of yellow sand suddenly poured out, forming a huge yellow sand claw, and grabbed it towards Sasuke Uchiha. In the face of this blow, Uchiha Sasuke did not retreat but advanced, and quickly leapt towards the opponent. His moves were a little quicker than in the first game, compared to Lee Kuro who had previously opened 8 inner gates. Thunder Sword. Moaning in his mouth, Sasuke Uchiha's right hand turned into a claw shape, and quickly made a thunder sword with chakra. The electric light flickered, and the cuts were made more than 10,000 times per second. He swung his sword away, easily cutting Gaara's big yellow sand hand. Sand Shuriken. Gaara's face was grim and his hands were sealed. The yellow sand that was cut open by a sword quickly scattered into a shuriken, like a rain of flowers, all of which were scattered towards Sasuke Uchiha. This amount. Sasuke Uchiha's eyes narrowed slightly, and the writing wheel opened quietly. Under the power of Sangoyu, dozens of sand shurikens, and their trajectories, were instantly understood by him. Swish swish. The thunder light flickered constantly, and all the shuriken attacks, in front of the thunder sword, were like chopping vegetables and cutting melons easily broken. It's over. At this moment, Sasuke Uchiha had already crossed a distance of tens of meters and approached Gaara. Although there was still a distance of 3 or 5 meters, at this distance, the thunder sword in his hand had already chopped down without hesitation. Die. With the death of the strongest shinobi in Sand Ninja Village, announced the re-emergence of our Uchiha clan. He was brainwashed by Chinyang, and now in addition to killing Itachi, he wants to revive the Uchiha family. Seeing this, Gaara, who was in a state of crisis, grinned cruelly. Phew. I can already smell your blood. He suddenly stretched out his right hand in a claw shape. The next moment, behind Sasuke Uchiha, the scattered yellow sand suddenly condensed and turned into the big hand of a monster. This big hand also grabbed it at the moment Sasuke Uchiha launched his attack. It can still be condensed. Sasuke Uchiha's face turned cold, and instinctively wanted to dodge, but when he thought of Chinyang's order, he immediately gritted his teeth. Regardless of whether he was injured, he would kill Gaara. Yes, that's right, that's it. The top of the central building, Chinyang chuckled to himself. It's nothing more than losing a hand, or being seriously injured and hospitalized for a month or 2. Only with this kind of awareness can you hope to defeat Itachi. And GT. Did you do it? Suddenly, a low voice came from behind. Chinyang didn't seem to be surprised. He didn't even turn his head, and said, "Is it true? It's so rude to see my ancestor." "Whether it's my ancestor, let's not mention it." Jiraiya said, "I heard about your deeds soon after I came back. The last time I saw Sasuke Uchiha using the Thunder Sword, in the land of waves, I was surprised. Such a powerful Muji ninjutsu, where did he learn it from? I thought it was Kakashi, but it wasn't. It turned out to be you. It's me. What are you trying to say? In front of the time, the 9 tails in Naruto Uzumaki were released by someone, and it had no effect on its seal. I couldn't think of anyone who could do such a thing, until I heard about you last night. Quote. Zilai also paused, and his tone became more and more serious. Tell me, did you do it? Tisk tisk tisk, as expected of Jiraiya, even the old man Sarutobi didn't react, and it turned out that you were the first to realize this. Quote. Chinyang was amazed. He had thought about Nara Shikuji, by Konoha Military Division, but never thought about Jiraiya. Dao Q. And GT. Outsiders say you are a bold man. It seems to be wrong. You also have a careful side. Chinyang praised. Yes, it is indeed the ancestor who did it. Why? Jiraiya said in shock. An old guy like you has no grudges against Naruto. Why do you do this? Did you have a festival with the 4th generation? Everyone is already dead. You still haven't let him go. Child. You're wrong. I have no hatred with Naruto, and I won't meet a dead junior Namaifung Minato. What is that? Jiraiya shook his head. Are you targeting Konoha? You belong to the Uchiha clan, and the truth about the extinction of the clan back then cannot be concealed from you. Even if you didn't know it before, this paragraph time is enough for you to investigate. Is it because of this? The Uchiha family. Stop laughing. What does that group have to do with me? They love it to death. They don't even have a kaleidoscope. It's really not worth mentioning. 9 Flowers Chinyang raised his eyebrows and said playfully, it doesn't seem right. Sasuke's father was the patriarch of a clan at the time, and he seems to have opened a kaleidoscope. However, it doesn't matter, it's just a kaleidoscope, we have to see the power of the user. Quote. Zilai was also stunned, and was speechless for a while. Unexpectedly, the ancestors of the Uchiha family have no feelings for the Uchiha family, and even disdain them. Then, the problem is big. The release of the 9 tails was neither against Naruto, nor against Minato, nor against Konoha. Then, the real power must be even more bizarre and unacceptable. Thinking of this, Jilai also gritted his teeth, and after holding it for a long time, he said solemnly, can you tell me this reason? Is greater than or equal to? It's better that you don't know. The world is much bigger than you think. The more you know, the more powerless you will be. Chinyang shook his head and said leisurely, besides, now is not the time to ask me about this. Instead of caring about others, you should think about your own safety. What? Zilai also frowned, not understanding what Chinyang meant. But the next second, he understood. Teacher Jiraiya, we meet again. Suddenly, a voice came from behind, and the voice was full of vigor and thick. Zilai also froze all over, and suddenly looked back, only to see a man with long red hair standing there on the other side of the roof. The man's eyes are extremely strange, going round and round, like reincarnation. Not only that, the man was wearing a black robe with red clouds, which was extremely conspicuous. Long Nagato. Jiraiya's eyes widened, full of incredible expression. I'm Nagato. Nagato's expression is indifferent, and he has no feelings for the master-disciple relationship. I am here today to pay tribute to teacher Jiraiya. Of course, if the teacher does not interfere, I can let you go. How come you have a Rinnegan, Yahiko? Self-consciously lost, interfere. What are you going to do? Of course, by the way, destroy Konoha and take Naruto Uzumaki. Nagato's face was expressionless, as if he was saying something very ordinary. As for Yahiko, he's already dead. Chapter 0838 plan to start. Yahiko is dead. QV. Nagato's tone didn't sound the same. Yahiko's death completely enlightened him, realizing that people cannot understand each other at all, and finally had a grand goal to create a world without war. For this purpose, even if a former teacher stood in front of him, he would kill him without hesitation. Dead? Impossible. I've only seen him before. Jirai was also stunned, but looking at Nagato's appearance, it didn't seem like he was lying. He had met Yahiko and 3 other Rinagans in Urin village before, and now he saw Nagato. If he couldn't react to such an obvious thing, he wouldn't be coming. Rinnegan is unwilling to appear so many eyes at once. Is this because of some kind of ability? It can spread the power of a pair of eyes to multiple people. This is the most intuitive guess, and Jirai asked Nagato face to face. As expected of Mr. Jiraiya, being able to judge this is already very remarkable. Nagato is indifferent. Jiraiya's eyes flashed and he said in his heart. He said, Yahiko is dead, just now, but I did see Yahiko. It can't be a corpse, right? No, wait, a moving corpse. As if suddenly enlightened, he suddenly thought that next to Yahiko, there are 3 ninjas who also have Rinnegan. Although the appearance of those people has changed slightly, he has seen them everywhere, and they are indeed dead. So that's what happened. Zulai also realized it, and at the same time felt a bit desolate in his heart. How did he die? Does it make sense to ask this now? Nagato, why did you become like this? What is the purpose of Akatsuki's eye on the tailed beast? Zulai also felt very uncomfortable. Of the 3 disciples he rescued back then, 1 died, and the other 2 took a completely different path from what he had expected. Bing. Who knows, Jiraiya, you don't have to know so much, you just get out of here. Nagato's eyes turned and fell on Chinyang. I heard your conversation just now. Are you from the Uchiha family, patriarch? He was very puzzled. How could such a character exist? Itachi is one of his subordinates. Of course, he knew exactly what Itachi did in those days. Apart from Sasuke Uchiha, there is no reason for the people of the Uchiha family to live. Seeing that his contradictions turned to him, Chinyang was too lazy to answer them, and still looked at the situation on the field cue. ~V. __. In the martial arts field, Sasuke Uchiha doesn't care regardless, the sword fell. Puff. The thunder sword was unparalleled in lethality, and Gaara had no room to dodge and was hit in the face. However, at the most dangerous juncture, the power of the tailed beast in his body was revealed at the last minute, and the large strands of yellow sand formed a sphere in an attempt to resist the blow. However, how could the power of the thunder sword be easily resisted? The absolute defense formed by the sand ball instantly disintegrated from the outside. But it also dragged its clothes. The power of this sword was cut by half, and the sword that finally fell on Gaara's body only left a bloodstain on his face. Ah! Gaara screamed. The right eye and the right half of his face were cut by a sword, and the blood immediately stained his cheeks. At the same time, Sand Hand grabbed Sasuke Uchiha from behind and bound him firmly. Blood. My blood. You are dead. The furious Gaara was completely mad, eroded by the power of the tailed beast, and he began to transform into the tailed beast. Sand-bound coffin, Kai. Sasuke Uchiha, who was besieged by the sand, immediately felt the pressure from all directions. The pressure from the tightening and compression of the sand seemed to grab him to death. Huh! Sasuke Uchiha froze inwardly, feeling that his body had begun to ooze blood, and within a few seconds, he was afraid that he would be squeezed to death. At this time, the power of the curse began to emerge again. This time, not only the black runes that covered the body like tadpoles, but also the physical changes appeared. A numb feeling came from his back, as if something was about to break through his body. Puff! Suddenly, Gaara's sand-bound coffin was pierced, and Uchiha Sasuke's back grew wings like duck feet. What? Gaara was taken aback. And Sasuke was frightened and angry, and the power of the curse mark filled his mind with dark and tyrannical thoughts. In addition, Gaara really almost killed him, which made his killing intent skyrocket. Definitely kill you. Sasuke was furious, his hands touched, and then suddenly stretched out. The next moment, a thunder gun suddenly appeared. This is the power he uses according to his own will, which is different from the last time he faced Naruto. Therefore, This blow contains more than 90% of his chakra. Go to hell. His movements were fast, and the gun of thunder he held high suddenly threw it towards Gaara, who was a few meters away. Not good. Sarutobi Hizen was shocked, but he didn't expect Sasuke Uchiha to actually kill Gaara. At the same time, Feng Ying's eyes widened, amazing. As expected of the power I'm looking for, this aptitude. Seeing that Sarutobi Hizen was about to intervene again, Kazekage suddenly moved, and suddenly dodged behind Sarutobi Hizen. His right hand locked the opponent's neck, and his left held kunai against his temple. Planning begins. In a corner of the venue, a man wearing an Anbu mask quietly formed a seal. The art of removing the spirit of nirvana. Unconsciously, white feathers floated from the sky, and feathers spread all over the venue, but in the tense game, everyone was paying attention to the battle, and no one was aware of the problem of feathers. However, when he realized it, his head was already lethargic. Immediately, 99% of the hundreds of spectators present had collapsed, and only a few people had collapsed. 0.2 realized that the situation was not right, and immediately ran chakra to relieve the illusion. In the same way, Chinyong also saw feathers on the roof, but he just saw through this illusion with a thought. Has it started? Nagato stared down, glanced at Chinyong again, and said, since you are from the Uchiha clan, you should also know the truth of the year, and now Konoha is invaded by Sand Shinobi and Sound Shinobi, which is the revenge. Great opportunity, why don't you do it? He he he. Chinyong smiled lightly, and Vivi looked sideways at Nagato. His eyes, from chrome, instantly transformed into three-hook jade, the next moment, eternal kaleidoscope, and then, Rinnegan. Who do you think you're talking to? Seeing this, Nagato was shocked. No way, Rinnegan. Chapter 0839-Reincarnation. How is that possible? NGT. He was shaken inside, and he had never heard of anyone who could have bloodstains from both eyes at the same time. Multiple bloodstains in one, it's possible, but what about the eyes? It's no wonder you don't understand. After all, your eyes are given by someone else. Chinyong was still sitting there with a leisurely attitude. I don't have two kinds of eyes, but after the evolution of the writing wheel eye, it will grow into a Rinnegan. Of course, after me, there is only Maiden. Finally evolved into Rinnegan. Nagato was stunned. I've never heard of such a thing. There's a lot of things you haven't heard of, and you'll see them slowly in the future. Chinyong shook his head and raised his eyebrows suddenly. At this time, Kazekage hijacked Hokage and jumped up from below. Hee, is it very lively here? Feng Ying glanced at Jiraiya, then looked at Nagato, and finally looked at Chinyong. Teacher Sarutobi, there are 3 people watching your funeral, you can go away satisfied. Between the words, 17 his face began to melt, revealing a pale face like a viper below. Sure enough, it's you, Orochimaru. Sarutobi Hizen was not surprised. Vengeance. Because I didn't choose you to be the 4th generation, so you want to take revenge on Konoha. It's just a trivial reason, it's not a big deal. Orochimaru showed a long tongue and smiled. If you have to say, after so many years of peace, Konoha should go through war. Do you think so? 3 generations. You disguised as Kazekage, and I noticed something was wrong as soon as I met. Where is Kazekage? Sarutobi Hizen was extremely calm, and was not panicked at all when kunai pressed against his temples. Of course he was killed by me. Orochi Akamaru grinned. I didn't need his power in the first place, I just used him to mobilize Sand Shinobi. Really? Then I'm relieved. Hizen Vivi breathed a sigh of relief, and in the next moment, his finger Vivi moved, and his body slammed into smoke. Shadow clone. Orochimaru raised her eyebrows. At that time, the moment Sasuke Uchiha was about to kill Gaara with the Thunder Spear was also the moment when Orochimaru launched a sneak attack. So, that look is also pretending. Orochimaru turned slowly and looked back. Sure enough, Sarutobi Hizen stood there already. Ms. Sarutobi, what went wrong with my plan? you seem to have foreseen it in advance. Even if you are on guard here, you shouldn't pretend to be frightened at that time, and deliberately show it to him to take advantage. You know, he was Feng Ying at the time, and even if he doubted Feng Ying again, he would never have imagined that Feng Ying would act under such circumstances. It must have been exposed, and Konoha knew something in advance. After thinking about it, Orochimaru felt that, 9 times out of 10, it was Qin Yang's fault. Although I don't know why the other party is doing this, making the plan more difficult, or, that person's heart is in Konoha. The latter is almost impossible. In this regard, Sarutobi Hizen was silent. He couldn't say Qin Yang's name, otherwise it would not end well if he got offended by the ancestors. HMPH, you really haven't changed at all, Orochimaru. From the beginning, that is. Sarutobi Hizen smiled, took off his hat, and took off Hokage's cape. You are not someone who will act out of hatred. There should be other reasons for doing this, but there is no need to ask me as Hokage. We'll stop you here. You. Hey, I'm really happy to be able to fight with you. You should also foresee your own death. Orochimaru also took off her disguise and revealed her original appearance. The two were on fire. At this moment, Jiraiya moved, and he quickly wanted to approach Orochimaru. He shouted angrily. However, at this moment, Qin Yang stretched out his right hand, and a square in his palm rapidly expanded, covering the two of Orochimaru and isolating Jiraiya. 4 seals. Qin Yang smiled and said, it's not right to disturb the master-disciple duel. Uchiha Qin. Jiraiya was also very annoyed, and tried to bombard the barrier, but he didn't move. Give it up, even if a mountain is smashed down, it won't be able to move the enchantment one bit. With your strength, if you use the immortal method for 10 days and a half months in a row, you will probably be able to make a crack. He also gritted his teeth. Behind him, Nagato was still in the shock of Rinnegan. At this time, seeing Qin Yang's first-hand spirit formation technique, he was not stunned. This mysterious Uchiha clan is unbelievably strong. Seemingly aware of his thoughts, Qin Yang glanced at him and said, don't come to explore me, I am just a spectator. No one can ignore such a spectator. Nagato didn't dare to act rashly. He originally planned to come to Konoha to appreciate Orochimaru's actions, and then capture Naruto Uzumaki, but now, he cares more about this person than Naruto Uzumaki. The scene was very strange. The 3 people outside the barrier did not move, but the 2 inside the barrier had already started fighting. Sarutobi Hizen took the lead in rushing the old man towards Orochimaru. If he didn't take the initiative to attack, he would definitely not be able to beat Orochimaru. He quickly approached with the technique of instant body, and at the same time quickly formed the seal. The speed of its printing is almost instantaneous, less than half a second. Dart Shadow Clone Technique. In an instant, countless shuriken flashed and poured towards Orochimaru. Seeing this, Orochimaru grinned, also forming a seal at a high speed, clasped his palms together, and drank in a low voice. Spirituality Reincarnation of Dirty Earth. Boom. The roof shook, and 3 coffins broke out one after another. The reincarnation of dirty soil unexpectedly, he will do this. The ninjutsu created by the second Naruto, this technique can summon the soul of a long-dead ninja back to the world and resurrect it in the form of an entity. On the 3 coffins, first, 2, and a word that has not yet been revealed or written respectively. It's too late. The 3rd one has to be stopped anyway. Sarutobi Hizen immediately started, and more shuriken hit the 3rd coffin that had only emerged half of its head, and sealed it. It's a pity that the 3rd one didn't come out. I prepared it carefully. Orochimaru hid behind the coffin with a weird smile. However, Sarutobi-sensei will not be disappointed with these 2. Boom. The coffin boards of the 2 coffins fell, and the 2 figures, like zombies, stepped out one after another, and then raised their heads. Seeing these 2 people, Sarutobi Hizen's heart was shocked. You. Long time no see, Sarutobi, I didn't expect to see you again. Well, it's you. Are you so old? What year is Sarutobi 1 now? The first generation of Hokage, second Hokage Senju Tobarama. Pen. Chapter 0840-Naruto. The second Hokage sighed in a low voice to the point that he would be reincarnated by the dirt. What year is it now? No, it doesn't matter which year. As a dead person, what's the use of knowing? Sarutobi Hizen's face was ashen, and he said in a low voice, "It's such a pity, I didn't expect to meet you two brothers again under such circumstances." Two Hokage, one with a white head and one with a black head, are two brothers. The one with black hair is the first generation, and the one with white hair is the second generation. The two are the original veterans who created Konoha, and they are also known as the second peak of ninjas. And hearing this, the white-haired second generation couldn't help but look behind him, and he saw Orochimaru. Reincarnation of the dirty earth, the one who summoned us with this technique is this young man. It's really amazing. As a forbidden technique of the otherworldly spiritism type, this technique is very difficult to perform. Of course, Orochimaru is not young, but in the eyes of the second generation, he is indeed a junior. Ha ha, Orochimaru chuckled twice, without disturbing the three Hokage's reminiscence. In fact, his reincarnation of the dirty earth is an improved version, which is one step closer to the second generation of Hokage. At this moment, the two psychic Hokage noticed the situation outside the enchantment one after another. It looks like Konoha's situation is very bad, Sarutobi. This enchantment has never been seen before, seems to be very powerful, new ninjutsu. The two looked at him and saw Jiraiya, then Nagato, and finally, they caught a glimpse of Chinyang. Impossible, two pairs of Rinnegan. The original Hokage was stunned. The world is changing too fast, and he can no longer keep up with the rhythm. When did the eyes of the six-path immortals be so worthless that he could see two pairs at random? Sarutobi, what's going on? Second Hokage couldn't help asking. Bing. Although the dead people know that it is meaningless, but Rinnegan is related to the six-path immortals, even if they are dead, they all feel concerned. Enough is enough, I have given you enough time to reminisce, and it's almost time to start. Orochimaru sneered, took out two kunai, and placed them in the back of the two Hokage's heads. After Kuwu, he tied a talisman, and after Kuwu penetrated it, he took out two more talismans. Then, it's done. Following his words, the bodies of the two Hokage began to stare blankly, and then the dust around their bodies gradually disappeared, becoming more and more like their previous appearance. At the same time, the self-consciousness of the two was suppressed, leaving only the fighting instinct, which became two violent Shalutuls. You are teasing the soul. Sarutobi Hizen was furious, time and space are not so fun. See. Hehehe Sarutobi-sensei, I'll leave this to you after you go to bliss. Do it. With an order, the second generation Hokage immediately started. Water escape water dragon bomb. Puff. In the land of no water, under this ninjutsu, a large amount of water was immediately born. Like a tide, it quickly turned into a water dragon, and slashed towards Sarutobi. Seeing this, Hiruzen Sarutobi's face was ashen, but he was not careless. The opponent was the first two Hokage generations. No one knew better than him, the strength of these two people. Too done too luby. He opened his mouth and spit, and a large stream of mud jetted out, forming a wall of soil in front of him. The water dragon bombarded it, but failed to break through it. It just washed away and lost its power. Wood Done Tree World is coming. And GT. The first Hokage folded his hands together, and in an instant, a small sapling burst out of the earth on top of the earth flow wall. The next moment, it rose wildly into a towering tree, with various branches and leaves, growing wildly, and in a blink of an eye, the enchantment was transformed into a forest. And these trees seemed to have eyes, twisting, and after destroying the earth flow wall, they quickly trapped and bound Sarutobi Hibiki. Oops, Sarutobi-sensei, you've been caught. Orochimaru said in a low voice, what does it feel like to kill your teacher with your own hands? I gave you this opportunity to experience it. Sarutobi Hizen, the direct disciple of the first and second Hokage. And Orochimaru is a direct disciple of Sarutobi Hizen. The few people here are 3 generations of master and apprentice. Orochimaru, I regret that I didn't have the heart to kill you. Were complicated tears in the corners of Hiruzen Sarutobi's eyes, and he said solemnly, now, I will correct this mistake, the art of psychics, the Ape Demon King. Boom. A white smoke flashed, and an ape suddenly appeared. He saw the situation at a glance, and immediately said, as expected, Sarutobi, you made a mistake in the first place. It's wrong, correct it now and become a wishful gold hoop. I see. With a bang, the huge ape turned into a big stick. Da stick, he smashed the surrounding trees, and was then held by Hiruzen Sarutobi in his hand. The next moment, Sarutobi Hizen rushed up quickly, and the Da stick in his hand swept away. Shan, old ape demon. Orochimaru was in a hurry, a snake spit out of his mouth. Orochi opened his mouth and spit out a long sword. Grass pheasant sword. Facing the wishful golden hoop stick, the first generation and the second generation dodged immediately, and the stick swept across and hit Orochimaru. And Orochimaru, holding a pheasant sword, blocked the blow heavily. Even if it is changed by the monkey demon, facing the Kusanagi sword Sarutobi Hizen has already started to seal quickly. Sihai wei mao wuzi yu wusi. This not seal Sarutobi. A surprised voice came from the Rui golden hoop. You're going to use that trick. That is the reincarnation of filth, there is no other way. Sarutobi Hizen didn't hesitate, with a decided look. The art of sealing, the ghouls are sealed. Even killing Orochimaru would be meaningless, it would not be able to release the reincarnation of the filthy earth, and this was the only way to let the souls of the first and second generations rest in peace. Sarutobi Hizen recalled the past. After being taught by the 2 Hokage, he became a companion with Danzo, and then went through the war and became the 3rd generation. He taught the 3 ninjas such as Jiraiya and Orochimaru, and then chose Jiraiya's disciple Namikaze Minato to become the 4th generation. All kinds of past, one by one flashed. Decades-long memories, in the end, are just a momentary revolving light. Konoha is my home, and Hokage is a pillar of this family. The will of fire will not be extinct, it will be passed down from generation to generation. Every generation has excellent ninjas who have emerged. They protect the village and guard the village. Peace of mind at home. And when I need it, my 3rd Hokage I can sacrifice at any time. Behind Sarutobi Hizen, a white ghost has emerged. It's just that this is weird, except for him, everyone can see it. No, to be precise, Chinyang can still see it. Orochimaru, your twisted soul, let me correct it.